Hey, welcome back everybody to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 113. I'm here with my co-facilitator, Lionel.
Hello, everyone. How you all doing today? Hope everyone's fine. How you doing today, Mike? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Yourself?
I am well. Thanks for asking.
All right, so tonight's discussion is blockchain and cloud. And we'll start off with discussing the cloud, then we'll go into some blockchain. Um, if you want to follow along, the docket is in the description beneath the video. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so first article is from geekwire.com. Azure versus AWS, Amazon Web Services for startups. Microsoft's top marketing exec explains its strategy in the cloud. It's a short article, but I'll read through it. Startups were key to the early success of Amazon Web Services, and most still favor the platform for cloud infrastructure. Microsoft thinks it has a strategy to win them over. At an event in Seattle last month, Microsoft's chief marketing officer, Chris Capasola, took the big questions head on. What's your strategy to get more startups using your cloud? Asked Greg Gottesman, a co-founder of Pioneer Square Labs. Capicella proceeded to lay out strategy, which boils down to two key elements: being pragmatic and giving lots of freebies. Step one: be pragmatic. The first thing to know is, excuse me. The first thing to know is that Microsoft doesn't seem eager to entice startups to give up AWS. That's because Microsoft thinks its multiple players can be successful in the cloud at the same time. Quote, the cloud tech business is not going to be a single provider that wins it all, Capicella said. Office was that way for many years. It doesn't look like the cloud is going to be that way. This approach is apparent in Microsoft's venture capital group M12. 90% of the startups that it funds runs on AWS. M12 managing director Lisa Nelson said in October. That's interesting. Quote, I'm not going to try to convince you to move what you already have in AWS off of AWS, Capicella said, or added. Instead, we're going to pick some not greenfield opportunities. Hmm. More often than more often than not, that opportunity is software as a service, Capicella said. Step two, give freebies. Microsoft is also luring startups through more direct incentives. Venture capital, startups funded by Microsoft's venture arm can use whatever tech stack they want, Capicella said. More often than not, eventually we find that those startups end up trying our stuff. And bullet two, free free credit. We, we have a startup program that is essentially free for startups to get started on every product we make, he said. Ultimately, Microsoft is doing what it can to get startups in the door and making the sale later. You really want somebody to try, Capicella said. The proof is whether you deliver. So Amazon is a complete capital. I don't want to say it's a capitalist. I don't want to say it's so much of a hyper capitalist sort of company, but they don't give away freebies. Not to that extent. I mean, you pay for just about everything in AWS. Um, everything is monetized. I don't care if you spin up a server for 2 minutes. They monetize that 2 minutes. You're paying for it. I mean, there's stuff in there that you can utilize, but in terms of services, it's pretty much you pay as you go. There is nothing free. And I think excuse me, I think Microsoft's strategy is actually a pretty nifty one because they fund the startup. So they're getting the startups to actually um, getting the startups off the ground and in through the door. and using their services. This is something that Amazon does not do at all. They don't even think about this. They are a for-profit corporation for the most part. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I think Microsoft may have a key strategy here when it comes to startups in the cloud. I know you have anything you want to add to this? Can anybody
Pretty,
hear me?
that's pretty interesting. You're basically saying that they're going, they have another strategy. They're not going to follow what Amazon. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, check 1 2 3. Can you hear me? Oh, I think we got a internet. Hello.
I know. Can you hear me? Can anyone in the chat hear me? I think we may be having technical difficulties here. I know. Can you hear me? Okay. What's going on, Elson? Um, Elson, were you able to hear the beginning of the hangout where I described the article, or no? Okay. Yeah, I think we're having technical difficulties. My nose just dropped off, so um, bear with us. Give us about maybe 2 minutes. Not sure what's going on. What's going on, Preem? Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Google Hangouts. Mino can't hear me. I don't. No, he's not saying anything. So um, I think he might have to reboot his machine. Let me make sure I All right, we'll move on to the next article. Not sure what's going on. Okay, this next one is from networkworld.com. Oracle introduces hybrid cloud for its own cloud. Combination of combination of on-premises and cloud services works great if you are invested in Oracle's cloud.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
I know. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello? I think we got technical issues tonight, fellas. Don't know what's going on. It's pretty weird. Never happened before. See, he should be back soon. The connection going on again. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Everything froze up on my part. Okay.
All right. All right. So this next article is from Networking World or networkworld.com. Oracle introduces hybrid cloud solution for its own cloud. Combination of on-premises and cloud services works great if you are invested in Oracle's cloud. Okay, so I'm beginning to understand why Thomas Curran left Oracle to try and write the foundering ship that is Google Cloud Platform. He reportedly butted heads with the boss, that would be Larry Ellison, over a desire to make Oracle products more readily available on competitive cloud platforms. And this announcement reflects that. It is a nice bit of news if you are an Oracle customer, but not if you want to use a competitive product. Last week at KubeCon, the company announced the Oracle Cloud Native Framework, which is designed for organizations looking to build hybrid cloud architectures across both public public cloud and on-premises infrastructure. It is something all of the competition is doing, of course. Oracle's efforts are best compared to Microsoft and IBM since they also had legacy systems and customers to move to the cloud as well. In that regard, Oracle is doing a really good job at vendor lock-in. The public cloud part of Oracle Cloud Native Framework connects to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, Oracle's basic IaaS infrastructure as a service platform that allows organizations to build and run applications in Oracle's cloud data centers. For the on-premise side, Oracle's cloud native framework uses Oracle Linux Cloud native environment, which is built on Oracle Linux. Oracle Linux is basically Red Hat Enterprise Linux modified by Oracle. It was originally marketed under the name Unbreakable Linux and was modified with no involvement by Red Hat. It's interesting. So, Oracle is a very finicky company. For those of you listening, they tend to do things a little bit different. They're a powerful company like IBM and many of your and HP, and you can throw in Intel and the rest of those companies. But the problem is that they have so many conflicts of not so much as conflicts of interest, but just the way how they look at the market. They look at the market completely different, as we read earlier in the article. That the founder actually bumped heads with the CEO of Oracle, which is Larry Ellison, on about how to provide Oracle's services on non-Oracle platforms. So basically on Google Cloud and AWS as well as Microsoft and things of that nature. They see the world differently from a corporate perspective. So which can explain why they don't get as much traction as the competition does, and why things aren't going as well for them in the cloud environment. So this seems to be a solution to help bridge the gap where they were where they were lacking in the first place. But this is something that they should have done a few years ago. Hey, what's going
Mhm.
on, Lionel?
Yeah, just listening. Okay. Hmm. We don't have any questions on this one.
No, they're just trying to do. Oracle is just trying to do what Microsoft is doing right now. Microsoft Office 365 or on Android now, which was 5 or 6 years ago, that was unheard of for Microsoft to even be involved in Google's mobile platform. They were too busy trying to launch their own platform. But now they see the writings on the wall, and that they have to reach out. So you have initially Microsoft for Apple products, and now you have Microsoft for Android. So Oracle is seeing the same writing on the wall where they have to port their software as a service onto other platforms as well. But they're playing catch up now. They're way dead last according to um, the Gartner rating. Oracle is almost last in terms of cloud market share. So I think something less than 10% or something to that effect. You were gonna say something, I know.
Now, this is all pretty interesting. Like you said a while ago, it would be unheard of for Microsoft Office to be on the Android device,
Hmm.
but now they are slowly creeping into that. Well, I won't say slowly creeping, but they're there. So yeah, it's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on, Richard Dixon? Jay Charles, what's going on? Christian, what's going on? Um, Mayer, Israel, what's going on? Preem asked, what's the trade-off by being on a competitor's platform? Well, the problem with this is that Oracle doesn't want to lose its customers, right? So Oracle is used to having traditional on-premise sort of services. They're not used to this new wave of deployments for their products. So Microsoft traditionally would have sold you a CD for Office, Microsoft Office 2012 or 2016 or whatever it is, right? And you would have popped the CD in your computer and installed it. Well, now you can buy Microsoft in the cloud, and you can stream it to any sort of platform available, whether it's Apple, um, Google's Chrome, or Android, or um, Microsoft Windows. So with that being said, Oracle is looking at the market now and saying, well, maybe we should offer a hybrid solution to our customers, who haven't, who are on different platforms like AWS and Microsoft Azure. Well, why didn't you think about that 5 years ago when you could have had more market share? But see, when you have leadership that can't visualize the future in the way that it should be visualized, it slows production down. It slows down your capabilities. It slows down your scalability, scale out, scale up vertically. It hurts your whole entire your business portfolio. So now people don't really trust. Why? What's the incentive for any company now to use Oracle if they don't have to? Right? There's no incentive for anybody to join Oracle's cloud at this point. They can just go join Microsoft's cloud or Google's cloud or Amazon. No, you're not compromising anything. It's yeah, you're not compromising anything. Um, if anything, you're going to lose customers because they're going to go somewhere else and go find another product, an alternative, especially a cheaper one. All right, let me get to the next article before we. All right, this next article is from TechCrunch.com. The business case for serverless. While serverless is typically championed as a way to reduce costs and scale massively on demand, There is one extraordinary, compelling reason above all others to adopt a serverless first approach. It is the best way to achieve maximum deployment velocity over time. It is not easy to implement correctly and is certainly not a cure all, but done right, it paves extraordinary path to maximizing deployment velocity, and because of this, that serverless is the most underhyped, under discussed tech movement amongst founders and investors today. The case for serverless starts with a simple premise: if the fastest startup in the given market is going to win, then the most important thing is to maintain or increase deployment velocity over time. This may sound obvious, but very, very few startups state maintaining or increasing the development velocity as a explicit goal. Well, development velocity, to be specific, means that speed at which you can deliver an additional unit of value to the customer. Of course, an additional unit of customer value can be delivered either by shipping more value to the existing customer or by shipping existing value, that is, existing features, to new customers. For many tech startups, particularly in the business to business space, both of these are gated by development throughput. The former for obvious reasons, and the latter because the new customer onboarding is often limited by onboarding automation that must be built by engineers. What does serverless mean exactly? It's a bit of a misnomer. Just as cloud computing didn't mean that data centers disappeared into the ether, it meant that those data centers were being run by someone else, and servers could be provisioned on demand and paid for by the hour. Serverless doesn't mean that there aren't any servers. There always have to be servers somewhere. Broadly, serverless means that you aren't responsible for all the configuration and management of those servers. A good definition of serverless is pay per use computing, where uptime is out of the developer's control. With zero usage, there is zero cost. And if their service goes down, you are not responsible for getting it back up. AWS started the serverless movement in 2014 with a serverless compute platform called AWS Lambda. I don't want to read this whole entire thing because it's not really it's really detailed. It's really geeky. It gets really sexy if you read into it. But basically, with serverless computing, you're basically just putting code in to get the infrastructure up and going rather than setting up infrastructure at all. The infrastructure is now being managed by somebody else, and you're not responsible for it. So therefore, it's kind of like um, it. Think of think of ride sharing or Airbnb, right? For computing, you have code, you need a place to put it, and you need a place to deploy it and actually run it. AWS Lambda actually allows you, as a feature from AWS, it actually allows you to input your code, run it as is, and then you pay for the usage, and that's it. No different than if you needed an Uber or a Lyft, you're not paying for the whole vehicle, and you're not paying for the insurance. You're just paying for the ride from point A to point B, and that's it. And then they drop you off, and the deal is done. I know you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. I like that analogy you put about the with the Uber. You're not paying
Yep.
for the entire car. You're only paying for the service. And with this, like you're saying, well, like the article you read was saying, you the code you write your code, you put it on it, and it's basically helping you out. You don't have to go through the traditional I want to say bloat, like price bloat, something along those lines.
Yeah.
If you have to do this, have to do this, have to do this. This is like, oh man, okay. This is like the like when the internet became even more some everywhere. You got YouTube, now it's like
Ubiquitous.
wow. Yes, ubiquitous, ubiquitous. It's making it more ubiquitous. Yes.
Right. So now you don't need to know Windows. You don't need to know Linux. You don't need to know how to deploy a server, basically. And what's happening now is they've made it so simple that all you need to write is code and inject the code into where you need to and drop it off and go. Kind of like, even dry cleaners. So simple. You need your iron, you need your jeans creased and cuffed and all that stuff. Somebody's gonna do that for you. You drop off the product and then you come back and the product is done.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's where we are right now in terms of the startup space and tech space, when it comes to information technology infrastructure.
But it,
Serverless. Go ahead.
but it seems like this would be a logical um evolution of coding. It gets to a point where it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, it's going to get that way, and that's why the new focus is on coding, Python, C++, Java, Go, and R. Well, I wouldn't throw R in there, but Go it would be a part of that. JavaScript and Java and Python and C++. So those are the six languages that you would need to know. You would need to know going into this in order to get take advantage of serverless computing. Um, this is where it integrates well into the cloud and as well as blockchain as well as cryptocurrencies too. Because when you want to write, when you want to spin up a new currency, this is how you would actually do it.
Mm, mm, yeah, because
It was
a
going
lot
to
of
be
a lot of these currencies use this code,
great. Hmm.
like Python. Is we went over that last week where Python was like the number one code languaging right now in demand.
Yeah, that was in the data science hangout.
Hmm. What's going on, Prem? How you doing today?
Great.
All right, all right. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is good stuff right here.
yeah, it's a very good article. And for those of you in the chat who are not who are just listening, you get a chance to actually read it. I think it's an awesome article. It's really sexy and geeky. So, kind of like yeah, it's definitely geek porn.
Yeah,
All right, we'll move on to the next article. Actually, this is where you take over.
yeah. All right. Um, Welcome everybody to the Black Brain Trust again. We are segue into our blockchain portion of tonight's hangout. Before I go on, I want to make it known and say blockchain is a new up and coming technology. It's been around for about 10 years now. This year, um, it's important as Black men that we have a grasp of what it is, an understanding of what it is. I wouldn't say there's no need to know the intricacies of it, but being able to understand what it is and what it can do for the future. Because per the articles we'll read later on tonight, um, the evolution in the blockchain world is constant. It's not static. It's always dynamic. So our first um, the first question is, what is blockchain in a nutshell? Quick question, Mike. I can't remember. Do you normally share your screen with this, or is this? I have just writings. I don't. I can't remember. Hello. Hello?
Yeah, I usually just leave it up. There's nothing. If I'm not sharing anything, I don't need to take
Okay.
up too much space. So I
Cool.
think
Cool.
I mean it's all in the docket beneath in the description. So if anybody wants
Okay.
to follow.
Cool. All right. If anybody have any questions, feel free to ask, um, because that's how we all learn. So, what is blockchain in a nutshell? Blockchain. I'm going to say some buzzwords tonight. I don't mean to just say the buzzwords and keep it going. I just want to. My goal is tonight is to help you all understand past the buzzwords. So in what blockchain is, I'm sure you all heard, is a decentralized ledger, an immutable decentralized ledger. Now, where that comes into place is the ledger part. Let's talk about the ledger part. The ledger part, in the past, accounting records, you will have single entry accounting records and a double entry accounting records. Basically saying, hey, I sent X amount of money to this person, they received it, blah, blah, blah. That's common. Now with not with cryptocurrency, I apologize. They're not one and the same. With blockchain, it's a triple entry ledger, meaning, hey, there's a transaction, someone bought some land, someone voted, someone did this, whatever transaction may be. It's recorded on this ledger. The third part of that ledger on this triple entry ledger is cryptography, meaning it's cryptographically signed and verified. In cryptography, you really don't really know the heavy weight meanings to that. Just know that it's a mathematical way of verifying or securing things. Now, the other part of the buzzwords that people talk when they talk about blockchain is it's immutable. Now, the visual aspects of blockchain is you have some blocks in there linked together with string. That's the common visual of blockchain. Where the linking comes in is that's the immutable part, and it's rather ingenious. So one block is linked to the previous block. Close your eyes and think. One block is linked to the previous block, but how? Well, at the beginning, think of the block as a sheet of paper. You have a folder, a spiral folder. You have it's filled up with paper. That's your blockchain. Imagine that sheet of paper. Each sheet of paper can only hold X amount of transactions per line. That's it. Once you fill that paper up, turn a page and continue to write transactions. Well, when you turn the page and you start off at the top again, the top few lines is going to have the bottom lines of the previous page on that top page. That's how they're linked. So if I were to change transactions from the previous page at the bottom, say, well, you know what? I didn't mean to send $50 to Preem, Preem asshole. No, I'm going to say zero. Well, on the next page, it still say $50 I sent to Preem. That don't match. So what happens is everyone that has a copy, this is where the decentralization comes. Decentralization means it's the opposite of centralization. There's no one point of failure. So everybody that all 400 or 500 subscribers of the Black Brain Trust has a copy of this ledger. And I can say in my own ledger, hey, I didn't mean to send Preem $50. I'm just going to erase that. It won't match everybody's copy of the ledger. It's continuously updated whenever there's a transaction of any kind. It's continuously updated automatically. So in a nutshell, that's what blockchain is. Now, I'm going to ask Preem, did you understand that?
I'm still over here shook from being an asshole, but I'm just I'm just kidding. Okay, so in my mind, I said, okay, I'm tracking, but then you're probably going to get to it. But then my thing is, if you did make an honest error, how do the other ledgers reflect the update?
All right. Now, blockchain is only one way. You can't go back and change things. You can only update it in future transactions and in future ledger entries. You can't go back. It's one way. So the error you say you made, well, just correct the error by making another entry onto the ledger. It's one way.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you can't go back because if you go back and change something, that means everybody else that has a copy of their ledger, it won't match up. It always matches up. You understand what I'm saying?
Correct. And then if I want to verify something, well, you're probably gonna get to that as far as how something is verified. How
Right, right. So how something is verified on blockchain is through something that's called cryptographic hashes. What a cryptographic hash is you input anything, words, a book verbatim, word for word, everything, anything. Say I owe somebody $50, anything. What a cryptographic hash is going to do is take that input and hash it, meaning it's going to give you a long string of 32 letters and numbers. That's your cryptographic hash. Now, it's going to take, if someone want to break that cryptographic hash, it's going to take them a couple million years to break that. That's how it's secured. So every transaction in your notebook has a cryptographic hash attached to it. That's how you verify. Now, if in that transaction, let's say you input the words to the song Tupac, whatever his favorite Tupac song is. If you change a comma or a period or add a space to anywhere, you're going to get a totally different cryptographic hash. So if that error you were talking about that was on page 2 or block 2 of the blockchain, you say, well, mm, it's supposed to be a comma there, and you change it, you're going to get a totally different cryptographic hash, which means it's going to mess up your ledger. The next blocks that comes in the blockchain, it's not going to match up. Everything is going to be off. You understand what I'm saying so far?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's just a cryptographic hash. It's just basically you put words in on one side and you get a string of 32 numbers and letters on the other, and that represents whatever you put in. That's all it is. It's really that simple, you know. And that is blockchain in a nutshell. Now, our next, well, was there any other questions in my head in the chat on the panel? Right,
Um,
right, right, Elkson. The hash is unique for every input, for every transaction on the ledger. Every transaction receives its own unique cryptographic hash.
Hey, what's going on, Christian?
What's going on, Chris? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How's everyone else doing?
All right.
Good.
Any other questions? All right. The next question was who and what uses blockchain? As a rule of thumb, if it can be written down on paper, it can be put on the blockchain. If it can be tracked, it can be put on the blockchain. So in past, we've read articles where I want to say it's in Rwanda where the government was thinking about who writing down on the blockchain who owns what land, how much of that land, the boundaries of the land that can be put on the blockchain. Also, what can be put on the blockchain is votes, who voted for who, to make the voting process more efficient. That way, you don't have to spend all night trying to figure out who won the presidency. It's it's quicker. Insurance policies, copyrighted content, lending, wills, trusts. There's talk of putting medical records on the blockchain. It could be if it could be written on paper, it could be put on the blockchain. On a blockchain, not the blockchain, on a blockchain. And if it can be tracked, such as supply chain, telling you where an item came from, where it's been before it got to you, it could be put on on a blockchain.
Okay.
Land titling. Go ahead.
Can you put false information on the blockchain?
What kind of information?
False, a lie. For instance, if okay, let's go back to the property thing. So if the truth is in Rwanda, I own 10 acres. I put that on the blockchain. It gets the hash code. It cascades across different blocks or different ledgers. I get the 32 digit thing. It's immutable. It's the facts. I've got, if someone says how many acres you own, I own 10. I could just give them this blockchain number or this hashtag, and they can verify that. Correct?
Mhm. Right, correct.
Okay. Now, what if I want to misrepresent that and say, I legitimately own 10, but I want to say I own 20? Can I
You want
just start a new record and just put the false information out there saying I own 20 and have that get a hash and pass that around?
no, in your question, it will be verified through the Rwandan government that hey, you paid for 10 acres, therefore we're going to put on our government blockchain 10 acres. You can't then say, well, um, go back and say, well, I own 20. No, we verify it. What they're going to do is verify with you. You're going to be there with them, and when they put that information on the blockchain because it's immutable, you two are
Mhm.
going to verify. Hey, you bought 10 acres. Yeah, I bought 10 acres. Okay, this is what's going to go on the blockchain, and that's going to be it. So you just can't put just put stuff on there. You know, with more than likely in this scenario that you're speaking about, the
Mhm.
Rwandan government's blockchain is going to be a private blockchain. Private and permissionless. No, I misspoke. Private and permission, meaning it's going to be secure. The only people that can put information on that blockchain are the people who are authorized to put information on that blockchain, on that Rwandan government blockchain pertaining to land titles. So before they put an entry on that blockchain, they're going to make sure that it's the correct information.
And then if I'm the person who's buying that property, I want to verify it and not just take the word of this seller or take the word of this appraiser or take the word of this real estate agent, all who are putting on this blockchain thing, hey, this guy owns 20 acres when he in fact owns 10. I'm going to want to see something from some type of private governmental permission source that kind of gives me a little peace of mind that, okay, this is legit because the government co-signed, the government put their information on there and
Yeah, stamp of
the
approval.
government validated all these individuals. Huh?
Right. More than likely, what's going to happen is if you want to verify that someone says they own whatever land,
Mm-hmm.
you'll there's more than likely what's going to be able what you're going to be able to do is go onto that local government's website
Mm-hmm.
under land titles, and you'll be able to see uh, that this person owns this or this person do not own this.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, as we do today, but then the benefit of the blockchain, I was just trying to see how the blockchain would go ahead and fit into that, make it even better or more
More secure,
secure. Mhm.
more secure because then people won't be able to go around and say, "Hey, I own this." Because even now, people have uh, disputes on where their land ends and where their neighbor land begins. This will be clearly drawn out once you purchase the property. You'll have the measurements will be on that transaction also, and it'll clearly say, "Hey, Preem own 10 acres of land. It goes northwest this, southeast this." So it'll be clearly drawn out. And plus, you'll probably be able to more than likely, keep saying more than likely, get a printout or see visually where your land is marked, wherever you purchased it. The only thing the blockchain is doing in this case is
Mhm.
making it more secure. It's cutting down on the people that can possibly scam people out of money or say false information.
And you would be able to verify that through something like a QR code from a land perspective
Agreed.
or a
Agreed.
property perspective, I should say.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just making it easier and more simple. But yeah, those are the things that can be put on the blockchain. And again, I reiterate, you can put insurance policies, copyrighted content, lending, wills, trusts, voting records and results, land titles, medical records, financial transaction, even the opening notes to a song. These are the things you can be put on that can be put on a blockchain. And the rule of thumb is if it can be written on paper and or tracked, amongst other things, it can be put on the blockchain, on a blockchain. Our second question is, what kind of certifications or degrees are available in blockchain? Let me share my screen. Right now, as this technology is ramping up, not too many places offer courses in it. The UCLA offers the first degree. I'm thinking in blockchain. I just seen it a couple of days ago. But this website is called BlockChain Training Alliance.com. And under the top tabs, you have certifications. You have some of the certifications you can get in blockchain is certified blockchain business foundations, certified blockchain solutions architect, certified blockchain security professional, certified blockchain developer of Ethereum, certified blockchain developer of Hyperledger Fabric. Hyperledger Fabric is basically the same thing, but it's business orientated. And we're going to go through these certifications to see what they actually are good for. We're going to go through the overview here. Now, this is the Blockchain Business Foundations. The Certified Blockchain Business Foundation, or CBBF, exam is an elite way to demonstrate your knowledge and skills in this emerging space. See here, I believe that's it. Okay, the exam. Okay, this is going over what the exam test. General blockchain knowledge, why use a blockchain, how blockchain works, using blockchain for business. These are the companies that is what's the word I'm looking for? Partner with Blockchain Training Alliance. We have Accenture, Dell, CGI, Air France, Fujitsu, IBM, Cisco, Avanade, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Merck, Anthem, and Union Bank. Let's see here. There should be a description. I saw it. Hmm. All right. Blockchain for business. Basically, I read it earlier, but basically, what this one is you're in this exam. Once you pass the exam, you have proficiently shown that you understand what blockchain is, its use cases, what it can be used for in a business environment. So with the businesses I just named, these are just the ones that are partnered with the Blockchain Training Alliance. They are looking for people to put a lot of these places, especially PricewaterhouseCoopers, that it's a accounting firm. A lot of information can be put on the blockchain because a lot of their information is based on paper. So they're looking for people that can be able to work on their blockchain, build it up over time, so they can continuously put their information on their own blockchain. More than likely, their own blockchain would be a private permission blockchain, meaning not anybody can go in there and put information. It'll only be held within that business, and so else these other businesses and any other business that have similar similar business structures as these. Other is solutions architect. This one is more interesting. See here. These are the certifications, $300. It's Pearson View, which means you have to go to a location, a confirmed location to take these tests. It's 70 questions. The locations are, you can see what locations are giving it, but you can't just take it online. Now let's see the overview here. Okay, the Certified Solutions Architect exam is an elite way to demonstrate your knowledge and skills in this emerging space. Additionally, you will become a member of a community of blockchain leaders with certifications monthly. Okay, golly, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere exactly what this is for. But blockchain, what a blockchain architect is, you don't do developing work. What you do is whatever you are trying to, let's take healthcare for example. You want to develop a healthcare blockchain with a company. What you're going to do is you're going to work with that company to sketch out or to brainstorm of different ways that that company can put healthcare records on their specific private blockchain, how it'll work, how the patients are going to be able to retrieve their medical records, and so forth and so forth. So I'm trying to think of a healthcare provider. Let's say Blue Shield. You are a blockchain architect. So you go to Blue Shield or you work with Blue Shield and you architect this. It says what it is. You architect it out. You're saying it's going to look like this. This is how it's going to work. This is how the patient is going to be able to go to any doctor that's approved by Blue Shield and be able to allow that doctor to get access to their medical records. And this is how it's going to work. Then after that, architect is the first step. Then you go to developer. Let's say architect blockchain developer. What you then do is you take that sketched out architect of what Blue Cross, Blue Shield want their block private blockchain to look like. Then you're gonna develop code to actually bring that to fruition. That's what a certified blockchain developer does. That's what a certified blockchain architect does. With the Ethereum developer, you're basically working on the Ethereum blockchain. It pretty much says it in the title. Now, Hyperledger is a blockchain. It just has a different name. Again, it's not public. It's not permissionless. A public permissionless blockchain. An example of that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, these cryptocurrencies. Anybody can go on there and share the ledger of that blockchain. With Hyperledger, you are working with the companies like IBM and Maersk and all these other companies, Dell, because they're going to have private blockchains, and their blockchains is going to work a little bit differently. You don't have to go through consistent consensus algorithms like you would hear proof of work. What you're going to do is any transaction that that company make pertain to their own private blockchain is going to go on their own private blockchain. So you don't have to go through the common, like I said, consensus methods that a cryptocurrency blockchain will have to go through. That's what Hyperledger is. It's mainly tailored to businesses. Hyperledger Fabric. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me stop sharing my screen. But I'm gonna put. Let me put this in the chat box. Um, but it's called the Blockchain Training Alliance. You can go in there and get study material. They'll help you out in trying to pass the test. You have to be certified, and the certifications that they offer on their website. Before I go on, was there any other questions?
No, but I actually wanted to bring an additional resource, which was let me share my screen. The Blockchain Council. So I'm not sure if you had that on your docket, but Basically, the Blockchain Council is an authoritative group of experts and enthusiasts who are evangelizing the blockchain research, development, use cases, products, and knowledge for the better world. So they have several certifications available, and you have Certified Blockchain Expert version 2. You have Certified Blockchain Developer version 2. These are all recent. Certified Ethereum Expert. Let me view the other ones. And the Certified Smart Contract Developer, Certified Bitcoin Expert, Certified Solidity Developer, Certified Hyperledger Expert, and Certified Hyperledger Developer. I'll drop that in the chat as well. If you look up the top right here, it shows that Christmas has come early. Get 20% off site-wide with the coupon code. So,
All right, good stuff, good stuff.
let me drop that in there.
All right. Now the next question is,
Actually, you didn't talk about the degrees or anything like that. So professional certificates should be included as well.
yeah, those are the ones we just went over.
Well, you have Linux Foundation is what I'm referring to.
He worked out.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, in that case, let
Okay.
me put this in there.
All right, edX. We went over edX multiple times on the show. It's a great place for you to go to get courses by MIT, Harvard University, Berkeley, University of California, the University of Texas System, Hong Kong Polytechnic University, University of British Columbia, any other, and a lot of other D1, D2 schools. They put some of their courses on here so you can earn certifications in those specific courses that you're looking for. Just last week, I think well, it was our space and technology show. We went over a couple courses that was on edX that pertain to space engineering, space not travel, but launch sequences. For blockchain, what you would do is go on to the search bar, obviously, and look up blockchain courses. Currently, I am taking blockchain for business. Hit that up. This is by the Linux Foundation. It's verified. You can receive a certification in this. Blockchain for Business and Introduction to Hyperledger Technologies, provided by the Linux Foundation, a premier to blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. Learn how to start building blockchain applications with Hyperledger frameworks. The class started October 25th, but is self-paced. There's no time limit. You can do it at your own pace. $99 for a certificate. Average 3 or 4 hours per week for 14 weeks. Other certifications that are on edX is blockchain for business. Well, that's a second part to that. This is by Berkeley University. It is blockchain fundamentals. I will highly recommend this because it goes through the history of blockchain, how it started, even though its blockchain is synonymous with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they're not the same, and they're not one and the same. They just showed up together, so they're that's why they're synonymous. They go through what you'll learn. Synthesize your own blockchain solutions, gain an in-depth understanding of the specific mechanisms of Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin's real life applications, and learn how to attack and destroy Bitcoin, Ethereum, smart contracts, and dApps. dApps are decentralized apps and alternatives to Bitcoin's proof of work consensus algorithm. Enterprise level blockchain implementations, and understand the scaling struggles of blockchain. So basically, like I said, they'll go over with you the history and the problems blockchain face in the cryptocurrency industry, and also separately from the cryptocurrency industry. The second part of the certification is only $99, is blockchain technology. Learn the fundamentals of blockchain technology and how it will power the economy of tomorrow. So they help you understand, like the certification is the basics, the fundamentals of it. That'll help you then learn, if you wish to, other things that blockchain can do for the world in the future. Other certifications that are on edX. You have blockchain and fintech. This, I would say, learn the blockchain fundamentals first before you hop into blockchain and fintech. This is provided by Hong Kong Polytechnical. It starts next year, May, I believe. But that's about it right now on what edX have in terms of blockchain and certifications. All right. Now the next one, what kind of salaries?
Oh,
You can
I've got questions.
go ahead. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
So the Linux Foundation is, they're part of the Linux, like the software company or the
Yeah,
operating system.
the operating that their foundation, they puts their certification on for Hyperledger for
Okay.
on the edX.
Okay. Next question is, what's the difference between a degree and a certification, if there is any?
Degree comes from an accredited institution, and the certification certifies that you are a master in what you're certifying in.
And is there like a hierarchy? Is one, I would assume that having a degree, I mean, all things being the same, being degreed in something blockchain would be considered to be better than being certified in something blockchain.
Not necessarily in the IT industry or in the technology industry. So if you have a blockchain solutions architect certification, that means a lot in comparison to somebody who has a degree in, let's say, computer science. There is no blockchain degree at this moment, but there's certificates. And the difference between a certificate and a certification is that a certificate is based on certifies what you learned, and a certification certifies what you're mastering.
Okay, because I think on some of those screenshots I saw the word degree, so that's why I was asking, because it said I thought I saw the word degree in some of those sites that you guys are going to, but they just all may have been certifications. So I probably misinterpreted it. And then the next question is, are they all the same? I mean, so I think you guys just went over like 3 different places that have these certifications. I mean, is a certification in blockchain, let's say blockchain fundamental from XYZ online steady course, that's going to be pretty much, let's say 80% similar to blockchain, fundamentals at another place? Or could it be teaching like 2 totally different curriculums, and it's just up to whoever's providing the course, whatever curriculum they want to go ahead and push out?
I would say it's going to be similar. You really can't deviate from how it works, what it is, and how it works. It's pretty much going to be similar. Is going to be more towards of who offers it, which you may choose to go to one person who offers it than opposed to another one. It's pretty what it is. Blockchain is pretty much what its current state. It is what it is. It works this way. This is how you operate it or build it. It's pretty standard across the board. The only differences are consensus algorithms, and even then, those are pretty standard because there are only a handful. So if UC Berkeley say we have a blockchain certification, and then you have MIT to say, well, we have a blockchain certification, they're going to be teaching you the same things. They're not going to say, hey, MIT is better because they do this. No, it's pretty much the same thing.
It also depends on who's teaching it. So somebody may have just academic experience versus real world experience, and that can make a
Mm.
big difference in teaching.
Correct. Which segues into my next question. So you got to, one of those places. You had a couple big names. You had the, Harvard does this, Berkeley, Linux, and then the other place was kind of like, just the courses where they're available. So if someone's vetting, it's like, man, okay, they got Harvard, they got, we got EDX. I see Harvard, I see Berkeley, and they're teaching blockchain fundamentals. But then these guys I've never heard of are teaching blockchain fundamentals. But I don't know these guys who I've never heard of if they actually have boots on the ground, time on the front lines in the trenches of it, and have more up to date. And the big well known names are just pretty much teaching it from like an academic standpoint. How would one vet where they're getting the most current, up to date, best training available. Because sometimes again the person who has a bigger name may not be the best source to get that information from. So how should people vet these places if they're like stuck between like three different places to get kind of a similar course?
Well, right now, that what you're saying runs through different uh I lost of words right now. So let's say a person is doing economics. He may not have job experience. He just know the technicals. So that's going to be there. Luckily, with blockchain right now, it's so wide open, and so many people are wanting to. If you're in that space to learn about it, there are other articles by people who actually work on these projects that they write up themselves that can supplement your learning, what you're learning on these certifications. Medium.com is a good place to learn about, um, to supplement your knowledge about blockchain, such as the different algorithms that are taking place, what different coding teams are doing. So blockchain right now is open in terms of you continuously learning what's on the cutting edge of upgrading these blockchains and making them even more efficient.
Mhm.
Okay, and my final question, which is I probably should have asked the previous question this way, is there an independent third party site to where you can go and folks can post their reviews of, their experience of taking these courses, or do you just do, just go to Google, EDX blockchain fundamental course reviews, something like that? Is there like an independent third party to where you can see what people's feedbacks are, who have actually taken these courses, and if it helped them out, that they, actually got something actionable that they used when they actually went out there and you know, to get employment in this, or to go ahead and be a contractor or a freelancer, or do whatever it is that they do after they get these courses.
I believe that's what the training alliance is for, and the council is for. So
Ah, okay.
And plus, it's important to know that this is this is going to be a major continuing education field because it's still so new. Just turned 10 years old this year at the beginning of the year. So it's going to be continuing education, and the areas that we pointed you to on right now are going to be some of the major um, sites you will go to to continue the education.
now Richard Dixon in the chat has a question. Could learning blockchain supplement my skills in SQL? They are both database technologies, but should I learn both or drop one of the or the other?
And SQL is, well, right now blockchain. SQL is a coding language, right?
No, it's a database language.
Oh,
So
data that SQ.
yeah,
Okay, okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sequential
That
language, sequential query language.
um, it's two different things because I would say it's two different things because blockchain has its way of doing things, its own way of doing things, its own way of taking account of. I'm not well versed in how sequential does what it does, but I know right now through my readings and listening to actual developers and who work on these blockchains, they're pretty, I want to say narrow-minded. They're pretty set in their ways of this is blockchain and it's blockchain or die. So I would say it's two different standpoint. Any
I
other
think you should.
questions?
I think he should learn both. You need to know the fundamentals of database technology in order to understand why you're implementing a distributed ledger to begin with, or hyperledger to begin with. Um, you, although blockchain works on a moving database platform, you still need to understand the larger factor of databases, because you're using blockchain as a vehicle, but what happens when your data needs to go somewhere, right? It needs to be stored somewhere inside some kind of data lake, right? So it needs to be put in some kind of database. And in that regard, you need to still understand database functionality and database engineering. So I think you should learn both. You don't need to be certified in both, but you need to understand both at the larger end of it.
Mhm. All right. I'm not sharing my screen. The next question on the docket was, what are the roles and salaries of blockchain careers? A few weeks ago, we went over an article where it said the third in these emerging technologies, the third highest paying was blockchain, with a median salary was $80,000. Now, right now, there's not a lot of blockchain developers, architects for a lot of companies that want to get into the blockchain space to hire. So at this moment, people are really naming their prices. Now, I'm on Glassdoor.com. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, I looked up in Atlanta, Georgia area. The first one that popped up, blockchain solutions architect, um, in Alpharetta, Georgia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Starting between 63,000 and 108,000 per year. Um, let's go down the list here. Retail industry architect, consumer industry, consumer industry center. So what they don't have a, they don't have a, okay, let's say Java technical architect. They are 78 to 115,000 per year. This is per Glassdoor. And again, this is the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I looked up blockchain architect. Now, also, I looked to Indeed. Close this out. What I searched on Indeed was blockchain developer. Now, developer salaries in the United States is about $96,657 per year. You have, and looking it up, you have React developer. They want 5 years in the, not five, I didn't mean to say five. They want some experience in computers. But as far as, excuse me, getting a dry throat here. As far as blockchain, it's not has been in existence for a while, so understand that. Blockchain developer, let's say the Arcadia Media Group, they're they're paying 28 to $32 an hour. So what I'm trying to say is, once you get in this early enough, you have to understand what you're doing. You understand where you want to go to be a blockchain developer, architect, solutions architect, whatever the case may be. Become certified. You're able to net in a good salary per year before the industry gets diluted in the future in the next 5 to 10 years. Excuse me. Any other questions?
I think you could use LinkedIn as well. Having a blockchain certification title under your in your profile actually can be very attractive to a lot of recruiters and whatnot, and talent acquisition personnel. When they're looking for the next the next IT manager or the next IT architect, that blockchain is going to be fundamental going forward. So
Mhm.
It sounds like to me, correct? It sounds like to me like an architect is more of a strategist, since after the architect comes the developer who actually does, I guess, the coding or the building of the blocks and the blockchain itself. Is the architect primarily a strategist to go ahead and talk with the company or the client, sees what it is they want to do, and kind of sketch out, kind of like the equivalent of like a wireframe to a website. You kind of, the website strategist will sketch out a wireframe, then they will hand it off to the developer to kind of, build up the site. So is it kind of the same thing where a blockchain architect is more of a strategist and they don't do any of the legwork? They hand it off to a developer once they've got the strategy and the architect together?
In the
Yeah,
IT world, that's a bit different. You may only have a 5-man shop, so your title may be architect, but you may be doing a lot of the physical work too.
Oh, okay.
mhm. Any other questions? Let me check the chat. Um, that's about it. If you have any questions over on, if you're in the chat about what I just went over, feel free to ask. That's how we all learn. So, Elkson says most architects and tech companies are former developers.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, sounds about right. You can uh, know more about that than me, Mike. All right.
Yeah, my architect is actually the director of operations, so um, or the director of that line of business. So it's not uncommon that you would see, an an IT architect or something to that effect, wearing many hats. They're sitting in meetings. They're also designing things out. They're also writing down or deciding what what resources need to be placed on this role and things of that nature. They pretty much run things from the top down, but it's not uncommon in a very small IT shop, especially for a startup, that an architect is going to be doing some of the coding work as well. That's just the way it is.
Mm, okay. Okay. Any questions, Christian?
Mhm.
No questions right now. I'm trying to look up blockchain auditors. I was looking at
Mhm.
somebody else's channel, and they were interviewing a lady that actually not like audit the blockchain, but like for tax purposes for people that like make money uh,
Mhm.
with Bitcoin. She could actually go through the blockchain and actually like pull out whatever records that they needed for auditing. I was trying to find out if there was a degree or a certification for that.
You would just be an auditor in that regard.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, do you need to have something that said, like, yeah, I understand the blockchain, I can.
I haven't heard of any actual certifications to be a blockchain or accountant. Have they
Yeah,
have any certifications for that?
yeah. You would go through something like Izaka. So Izaka would have the Certified Information Systems Auditor, the CISA, and that would go over the process and procedures for something like blockchain. If you look in their manual. Let
Okay,
me share my
that's what I was
screen.
looking for.
I haven't taken that certification in a few years now, but definitely something they only recently moved from paper to computer. So just keep that in mind.
All right.
All right, this next article is from CryptoBriefing.com. Blockchain beware. DAG and Block Lattice are here.
Yeah. This read the first few
Yeah.
Um,
I got the first paragraph.
okay.
How often has the average cryptocurrency investor heard blockchain, not Bitcoin, ramble across the feeds? Or now, Bitcoin, not blockchain? Often, cryptocurrency is heavily associated with blockchain, but there are other protocols and platforms in the broader realm of decentralized and distributed technology. Some examples of alternative cryptocurrency infrastructure include direct directed acrylic directed acyclic graphs (DAG), distributed hash tables (DHT), and block lattice. That's how you pronounce it,
Hmm.
among others. In this article, we discuss three cryptocurrency projects that do not use blockchain as their core protocol: Nano, IOTA, and Holochain. These projects explore scalability, data storage, consensus among nodes, and improving transaction processes. What were you going to say after that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna go ahead and get into the three. I'll start off with IOTA because it's a top 10 crypto. So people are familiar with the name. IOTA doesn't use blockchain, it uses something that's called the tangle. What the tangle is, instead of having a visualization of blocks linked together, what the tangle is, you have one transaction, but that transaction verifies two previous transactions that was sent through the tangle. So what they are aiming to do is have their tangle become more what's the word I'm looking for? More secure through this process. Right now, their blockchain is centralized, but they're going to make their developers have stated they're going to make more vigilant efforts to decentralize it. I understand the concept of the tangle is somewhat. If you are hazy about blockchain, me trying to explain exactly what tangle is because a lot of the information is not out there. Just what I said, that's the basis of what the tangle is. One transaction verifies two other transactions going through the tangle. So that's how the transactions are verified. Much like Bitcoin, everything is verified by a consensus algorithm called proof of work. So that's where they differ. Um, with Nano obviously per the article doesn't use blockchain. What Nano does is like Mike Red uses something called a DAG. I'm not familiar with what too familiar with the DAG is, but with Nano, and I'm gonna stick with Nano. What you're saying is a lot of developers looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a proof of work consensus algorithm, meaning you have to put in serious computing power to solve a mathematical problem to be able to win the right to publish a block. Now, with this computing power, it takes a lot of energy. So, what developers are doing is they're saying, hey, all this energy that's being expended, there has to be a better way of doing this. So, they're coming up with different consensus algorithms that don't have to use that much energy. They don't have to expand that much computing power, and also to help make the blockchain more decentralized. Now with Holochain, they mentioned something interesting. They are going to be using the cloud also with their consensus algorithms. That I don't know if you read it, Mike, but that was pretty interesting when I heard. I'm not too familiar with Holochain, but that was
I,
interesting when I read it.
yeah, I've done some studying on Holochain, and it looks amazing. It looks like I would say it's probably the next wave of where where what blockchain should be. Where the where you should put emphasis behind.
Yeah, that it looks nice. It looks nice. I'm gonna have to. do some reading about it, but the brief explanation of what whole chain is, it looks pretty promising.
Yeah. There's a whole
Right.
article on it on Crypto Briefing. It's a whole expanded article. I think it's awesome. If you get a chance to read it.
Hmm.
All right, we'll move on to the next article. Share my screen.
What's going on, C-Bug? How you doing, freelance? Simply
All right.
Deep.
All right, CoinTelegraph.com. German railway operator examines deploying blockchain to tokenize its ecosystem.
Hmm.
German railway operator Deutsche Bahn AG has partnered with blockchain integration platform Unibright to examine the possibility of tokenizing its ecosystem. A press release revealed the partnership on Tuesday, December 18th. DB appointed Unibright to make preparations for an internal workshop dedicated to the possible tokenization of the company's assets. The railway giant, which is considered to be the largest in Europe, wants to find out whether decentralized solutions can cut operational costs and help DB interact with other members of the travel industry. Unibright developed a proof of concept based on the idea that blockchain could connect different areas of common journey, such as single travels, miles, services, catering, hotel bookings, and even local transport. To achieve that, each part of the trip has to be tokenized. In the proof of concept, tokens can be purchased and sold by a customer or exchanged for other services due to interoperability of the ecosystem. Moreover, tokens can be used by an issuer as a reward for loyal customers, be granted for miles. Unibright has offered to build the ecosystem on the NEEM protocol and specifically develop framework where the tokens can be organized into clusters such as travel, food, and accommodation. A business specialist can monitor the network without any particular skills, the company claims. Although the workshop won't lead to near-term implementation of the technology, head of BD sales department Akram Akram Soyoud,
Saeed, yeah.
yeah, Akram Soyoud believes that with blockchain, the company can get one step closer to independent acceptance of services of different suppliers and build new distribution channels. Yeah, I think this is it's a very slick way of going about integration. Okay.
Now, go ahead. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I want to clear up one thing. I know people may hear these two words a lot: coins and tokens. Coins and tokens, Bitcoin. Then this article was talking about tokenizing. The difference, clear it up so you can understand what the article was talking about better. A coin is a unit of value that exists on its own blockchain. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, their coin is Ether, and so forth. In this article, it said that if you they Unibright is has offered to build the ecosystem, which this Germany railway operator, they're offered to build an ecosystem on the NEM protocol, so the NEM blockchain. So NEM has their own coin, which is NEM. A token, on the other hand, is a unit of value that is created on a blockchain that acts like its host. So what the article is saying is they're going to tokenize the rides on this railway system. So they're going to use the NEM blockchain. The NEM blockchain is going to host their tokens. So if hopefully you were listening, that will clear up some things between coins and tokenization. So when I say tokenization, they're going to use the NIM blockchain to host their railway and make it more, I'm guessing, efficient. And they also said that they're going to use the tokens for people can purchase food and other accommodations. Now, Unibright more than likely is a blockchain company that designs blockchain. So they are somewhat the architecture and the developer. So the German railway operator, partner with Unibright. So Unibright is like the article said, develop a proof of concept to see how it's going to go. They're going to put it on a NIM blockchain. They're going to create these tokens where the passengers can use to take the railway transportation system in Germany. And also with these tokens, they're going to be able to buy the issue. Say moreover, tokens can be used by the issuer as a reward for loyal customers. And then those same tokens, when they're on a train or a platform, they can use that to purchase through their phone and QR codes, food and beverages. So that's what this article is saying in a nutshell to make it more clearly. I know when I read it, I thought people may not understand what they mean by tokenization and things like that.
Okay.
Right.
So coins, yeah. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah,
What you gonna say, Preem?
yeah, I'm lost as fuck. Um, so okay, so I get, and we talked about this before, the Brave, the browser, them tokenizing ads and all that stuff. So I get what they're doing there. On this right here, I need this thing brought down quite a bit so I can get an understanding of one, why would they do it? So if they're a railroad, they're already accepting money. Why is the railroad tokenizing? I guess they're trying to use tokens as a different form of currency. Why, if they're already accepting money, because I see services, rides, meals. So why not just use the currency to do that? One, two, what is the benefit to the patron or the person who's making those rides? Why would they not just? What would be the benefit to them to use these tokens versus just using the currency that they're already using? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to do here? Why are they doing this? And how does this benefit the writer?
Okay, well, what they're doing is now the blockchain can also be used for transportation. We've talked about. I'm gonna try to, like you said, make it more simple. We've talked to how. I don't know if you were there. Remember how we said on smart cities they're going to use blockchain? Do you remember those conversations we had in the past?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Does that sound familiar? Those words, smart cities, using
That's
blockchain.
smart contracts. Yes, smart cities. No, smart contracts.
Okay. Well, what they're doing is they're going to put their whole transportation system on a blockchain. In turn, what the blockchain is going to do is make things more efficient, more faster, with a more faster cut down on the traffic, time spent in traffic. That's the aim, to make it faster for people traveling to and fro from work, school, and any other places they're going to. Because
How?
well, okay, say you they're okay, their railway system. Let's say in peak times they pick up X amount of people. Let's say 100,000 people in peak times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those peak times are mainly happen twice a day when people going to work and coming back home from work. So what the blockchain is going to do, they're going to recognize that, and more than likely they're going to implement artificial intelligence with it. So what these two uh, technologies are going to do is it's going to recognize as, hey, during these specific times, this when traffic gets heavy, foot traffic. This when people going to and from work. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to figure out a way to make that faster, to have people not waiting 10, 15 minutes for a train. Either they're going to slow the train pace or put more trains on the track. They're going to do something. They even have trains stop. Instead of stopping for a minute so people can get on and off, it can say, well, stop for 30 seconds because there's another train coming every 5 minutes. These two technologies are going to combine together and say, hey, we're going to try this. If this don't work, we're going to try this. It's just going to become faster. They're going to do it fast. This technology is going to do it faster. So that's what I'm trying to break it down as far as much as I can. That's what this blockchain can do. They're putting their transportation on the blockchain, even driving, finding a way to make it where, as many green lights as possible through these areas so people can get home. So cut down on the bottlenecks of traffic and so forth.
Okay, so I know it can be related because this was happening long before the blockchain thing was going mainstream. But like how you have like smart traffic lights now. If it's like 3 in the morning, I'm stopped at a traffic light. They know with the sensors in the road, maybe a quarter of a mile from in the opposite direction of that light, there's no car coming because it hasn't got the pressure on the road, so it will turn my light green for me. Because it knows it doesn't have to, have that other light green because nobody's coming no time soon. So even though it just turns red as soon as I got there, it's able to figure out nobody else is coming the other way. Let's get this guy green light. It's 3 in the morning, so he can go and go about his business. Is that a similar way how the technology will work? Or
yes.
Kind of, okay.
Yes.
So that's already been, okay. So there are two things here. That's the blockchain. That's the tech behind the efficiency and the functionality, which it's, there's no way I'm going to even get an understanding of that right here, right now. But then the other thing is, it's the whole tokenization with the replacement of the tokens versus just using regular currency. What's the benefit value? Why would they do that? That's separate from the technology making the system run more efficiently, because the average consumer person who's riding, they wouldn't get that far into the weeds with all that. But then they're doing this thing with the token. So I'm thinking, okay, well, why would they? What's the benefit of what's the reason why do we even do that?
Most credit cards that you have now, whether it's American Express or Discover or any one of those major brands of credit cards, all have loyalty programs, rewards programs, and depending on how much you spend, you get some rewards out of it. The thing is, those rewards are proprietary to the card itself, so it's only limited to where that card can actually be used at, and you have to use it in a certain time frame. What tokenization would do, it would allow you to generate these tokens and actually allow you to spend it with different vendors and different platforms because they're all interconnected anyways. If you look at the article, or remember when I mentioned the article that they said that multiple services, so catering, train services, other bus platforms, bus services, and things of that nature. It's a whole ecosystem that's involved in it.
So they're kind of like Brave and Bat. It will spit me out tokens as opposed to spitting me out points like American Express or miles like Delta would do. It would spit me out tokens, but then possibly will also give me the option if I want to use my currency to buy tokens. I could do that. Well, but it would just spit me out tokens as opposed to giving me points, giving me miles, or something like that.
Yeah, something similar to that. It hasn't actually panned out yet because it's still in the early stages. But I think by 2020, you're going to see a lot of tokenization on different platforms.
Right, and tokens in a way is tokens is currency, and then you can actually take those tokens with different exchanges, and then move that token from one ecosystem or one unit of value to another, kind of like what you do today with just going from one country to the next and exchanging that token exchanging the value of that token. Like one token equals half a token in another place of value. So then I can actually take the money that I'm generating somewhere else, almost like, say, for instance, if I make a lot of money on YouTube, I can take all that money and then convert it to USD and then go somewhere else with it. The only difference is, of course, now YouTube already just converts everything to USD for you. So all your clicks and your advertisements and all that other stuff, it generates a value, and then it already changes it to USD for you, so you can actually make it into spendable money. But you can almost say that YouTube itself is already tokenized in terms of like clicks and so on and so forth.
Boom. Cool.
Yo, good, I wanted to ask you get it, but I was kind of afraid to ask.
The
What's going on,
tokens are
Prison?
nothing much. Tokens are hard to explain because you actually have to make a uh, uh, um you have to make a case for why they're actually valuable, and they're really just not. They aren't. Tokens are never really that valuable unless somebody actually uses. They're only valuable within the ecosystem. And touching on what Mike just said, your rewards programs they create somewhat like tokens. So they're not that valuable outside of their ecosystem or outside of the Amex store or what have you. But if we have these tokens and these tokens can be exchanged or exchanged for other tokens on exchanges, then we start to see where these values they have or these tokens are somewhat borderless, which is a nice thing. It's just they have to have some type of value.
Their portability is going to make them valuable.
Okay, now
Right.
so let me go out into left field with this. Let's say if Delta was to do something like this. Let's say if I don't have a Delta credit card, I don't have earned Delta miles, but Delta decides they want to tokenize their mileage thing and give their freaking flyers Delta tokens. That goes on an exchange. But let's say I'm dealing in Bitcoin, and I convert my Bitcoin to USD. In theory, would one day I'd be able to buy into the Delta token ecosystem and then use those Delta tokens for miles, even though I'm not a Delta card carrying member?
Or
Yeah.
somebody who does have the tokens generated may decide that I don't feel like flying anymore, and Preem needs it right now, so I'm going to give it to him through a digital wallet, and he'll be able to spend it that way.
Pretty like this. What you just said, Preem, is the EBT scam. Like it's just like the same thing. So people will take their EBT cards and sell it for say they'll sell $100 for $50 USD. You just bought into the welfare token system.
Right, and Georgia is like one of the number one states for like EBT scams as well. Just as a reference.
Yeah, it's great in Florida too. Get a guy outside of 7-Eleven. It's all types of discounts.
Praying, what y'all doing down there, man?
Open borders, open EBT too.
Open borders, EBT cards. Yeah, you should already know what this is, Preem.
Right, you should be familiar. Why you asking questions you already know?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's kind of the analogies that you make. All right, sir.
Let me go to the next article. So we got running low on time. All right, this one is from CoinTelegraph.com. Tunisian internet agency signs strategic partnership with blockchain platform. The Tunisian internet agency ATI is going. Yeah, there's something's not right about the sentence.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I think it's been translated. It's going to provide hosting service for the Russian blockchain platform, Universa, according to a press release shared with Cointelegraph on December 19th. Founded in 1996, the ATI is a governmental body run by the Ministry of Communications with the objective to promote internet usage in the country. Per the release, the ATI has signed a 10-year renewable strategic partnership with blockchain platform Universa to provide hosting services for the platform and facilitate its further development. The agreement sets up a range of objectives wherein the ATI will develop value-added services in the blockchain field, digital economy, and digitalization of paperwork. The Universal platform will reportedly develop additional applications and services and integrate them into the new technological platforms and initiatives such as e-certification and the digital economy. The two parties will also build joint projects in the field of blockchain as a service, which includes digital currency, digital identity, as well as smart cities and e-governance. Early in December, Saudi Arabian developmental institution, the Islamic Development Bank Group, ISDB, partnered with a Tunisian startup, iFintech Solutions, to develop interbank blockchain tools. The impetus behind using blockchain for the initiative lies in the relative dis- disadvantage Islamic banks have on the worldwide stage, with institutions restricted from funding options provided by international central banks. In October, experts with ties to the World Bank Group presented options for using blockchain in e-government procurement. Though the implementation of EGP, business to government, systems has contributed to the enhanced efficiency and transparency in government procurement, there is potential for further advancement of the existing systems, document reads. So here we go again with blockchain being implemented in its different avenues that it can be implemented to. So
Yeah, I admit this was a difficult read for me. Be- Um, had a tough time grasping what they were saying. I understand that the Tunisian government with internet access, but how I was hazy on it.
mhm. Well, you think about who they're trying to identify on their networks, and I guess e certification is one place where they can actually verify who you are.
Okay, okay, and that I get.
Yeah. All right. This next one. Are you kidding me? All right. This next one is from CryptoBriefing.com. Can a blockchain save endangered species? Newton Project aims to fight poaching with a on fleet of on-chain drones. This is sounds dope just from the title. Cryptocurrency isn't known for being environmentally friendly. Well, not proof of work mechanisms like Bitcoin, but a new blockchain project could help save endangered species at a discount. The Newton Project, which seeks to replace centralized intermediaries with trustless markets, has announced plans announced plans to help fight animal poaching with the help of blockchain-based monitoring devices. In an email to Crypto Briefing, the Newton Project outlined prospects for a network of on-chain IoT devices, sensors, and drones to track and monitor endangered wildlife species across the expanses of the savanna. Newton's new sensor technology consists of small IoT devices for monitoring location, temperature, air quality, humidity, etc., and uploads the data to Newton's blockchain. By inserting a new sensor under the skin of an endangered mammal, for example, a rhino or elephant, we can track the location and basic behavior of that animal. Many animals are social and follow a leader, so instead of tagging every individual, we can just tag notable individuals. The system, the system, if successfully implemented, could remedy the problems of tracking and monitoring herds of wildlife over large wilderness regions. Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's dope, ain't it? Yeah.
this is this is groundbreaking because in Africa, one of the biggest problems that they have is the poaching and the killing of rhinos for their tusk. And
hmm
the same thing with elephants. And a lot of that is the Chinese and the Japanese doing this. You know, you have a lot of Japanese and Chinese poachers who want to come in there. And I would say just the majority of the Southeast Asia there's a black market for rhino tusk and elephant tusk and things of that nature, or horns, I should say, for rhinos. Um, and these tigers as well, you know, wanting to steal their paws and make tiger paw soup and all this other crazy shit that, you know, they wouldn't be able to get away with in their own country. You know, go kill your own tigers and animals, but don't come to Africa and kill them.
Yeah. I am for stopping poachers. I definitely, like you said, they're stealing because when they take their horns, rhino horns, they just they're they leave them to die. And the reason they're taking their horns is for their sex drive. They grind a horn up and they snort it or put it in the tea for their sex drive. They believe that if they do that, they'll have better sex. That's exactly what they doing. And the ivory from the elephants is, you know, we've been hearing people hearing about that for years, but I'm a big component to, or a big supporter of stopping these poachers because they're killing, you know, our animals. You know, when I say our animals, I know African people animals. So you see a coming together of a few technologies in this. You have IoT and you have blockchain. With the IoT, you know, it's sensors. They're going to put the sensors under the skin of, and I think is ingenious. Just lead the alpha. Oh boy, the alpha of that group because they follow that one person. Well, that one. It's not like they gotta go and shoot and tranquilize hundreds of thousands of animals just to put it on these devices under the skin. I think this is pretty ingenious. I'm going to look up the Newton project. What they're doing. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, and don't forget that they're using drones to track them. So the
Mm.
drone would tell them the GPS location or the GLONASS location of where that animal is. I saw a video about this before early in the summer where South Africa has a whole entire task force that goes after poachers and stuff like that, and they were able to capture um, one of the guys who were actually poaching them because it's never all one. It's never one person. It's a syndicate. So you have one person that goes out and captures the animal and gets the tusk or the horn off, and then you have a person who smuggles it somewhere, and then you have a third person who's the broker who deals with um, the diplomat. So in order to get this stuff out the country, they have to put that on presidential planes or nation state planes because you can't pass it through the airport. If you go through a body scan or you go through all your necessary security measures, they'll be able to capture that. So if they put that on a presidential plane or some other diplomat's plane, private jet, they can get through security better that way. And then there's another person on the ground on the opposite side of wherever they're going, whether it's Japan or it's China or Korea or something like that. They're able to there's another guy on the ground who actually sells it to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder is the one who buys it. So it's a whole entire syndicate.
Okay, so I've got a question. So what did I highlight here? So looking at trying to figure out the problem that they're solving. Okay, yeah, the sentence says the system, if successfully implemented, could remedy the problem of tracking and monitoring herds of wildlife over large wilderness regions. So what are the current tracking problems that they're having that this thing is solving? I don't know, because if they're able to track sea animals like whales and whatever, inject something into them and, be able to find them months later, when they're full grown, if that technology has already pre-existed, why are they having an issue now with these animals in the wilderness as far as tracking them?
It's easier to track a whale because of the size of it, but you can't. How are you going to track, rhinos, right? Rhinos and other sorts of endangered species where they're limited in there's unlimited real estate, right? So you have all of this animals that go from one country. Well, animals that go from one country to the other, they flow in and out of that. they don't usually stay in their own little confined spaces. They usually travel as far as they can. I'm speaking more in reference to males because males are the ones who try to cordon off their own little areas.
I think this really turns into a big data storage issue as well. And that's how the blockchain will actually definitely help, because it'll be distributed as long as this is a public blockchain, that is. And even if it's not a public blockchain, then that information can be stored or siloed in different areas depending on how they handle blockchain sharding and everything else like that.
Right, and they could submit that information to the United Nations almost instantly.
Right, and then multiple places can actually monitor that, and depending on how everything looks, or depending on how things are tracked, then you could see where something is because it's getting queried by so many different agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a public database, depending on if they actually make it public, which I assume they will.
it'll be private where you can do it.
No. The animal should be public because it belongs to the state itself. Because it's an endangered species, right? So there's other accredited institutions that want to monitor and track. There's other institutions that want to monitor. Nice. I don't know what that brother's eating over there. Well,
sorry about that. I tried to mute myself before I did it. Sorry.
All right, let me say this one more time. If there's other institutional bodies like not UNICEF, United Nations, wildlife something. If there's other institutions that want to keep track of this and they want to make sure that animal rights groups, that's basically what they are, animal rights groups. So they want to make sure that they're getting their records are updated just as much as the state governments are. And this
that's
allows
a good point.
This allows them to comply with global standards that they're ensuring the safety of wildlife.
That's a good point. Okay, their records are continuously, immediately updated instead of them being behind months or years in this one population. Okay, I like that.
Right, and it's hard for a country that doesn't have a whole lot of money to track these animals, and that's the way how corruption works in Africa. Is that nation states need money, so they're selling off these these animals to the poachers. We've seen videos all over YouTube of these Europeans or these white people, pale skinned people who come to these African countries and go around shooting tigers and lions and then standing next to it taking pictures. And it's like, you think you're brave? You an alpha male? Nah, you're a clown.
Question. This is off topic. Fair warning. Are there lions in Africa? I don't think no tiger. There are tigers in Africa. I don't think there are tigers in Africa. I think they're just lions.
No, but there's tigers inside Central Asia.
Okay, yeah. Because that'd be one hell of a fight if it was tigers and lions. But I'm just okay.
Aren't mostly tigers in densely dense vegetation areas, like
more vegetation,
yeah.
Like
more
I think
savannah animals.
Well, savannah animals would be lions, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Lions are more savannah animals.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I think you have all those ecosystems within the continent of Africa. Just depending on where it is. I would think maybe more on the closer to the sea on the east coast of Africa. East coast of Africa.
That was just a question I had. That'd be one hell of a fight.
But I think Florida has their own bobcats or something like that. Some kind of wild danger.
Yeah, we have bobcats.
There's a name that you guys call them though. It's a certain type of name that you guys call them, like
Well, they have Florida mountain lions as well too.
Okay, that's what you guys call them.
Right, but that's more or less up north, and then we have. I think there are some like small bobcat or small ones a little bit closer south actually no, not in the swamp area, like where I am, or in the Everglades, I should say. I think they're smaller.
Yeah, I find it interesting they call it mountain lions. I don't know of any mountains inside Florida.
the Appalachians end like right at the tip of Florida, or right at border of Florida and Georgia, I believe. Is it that? No, the Appalachians are west, is it? But there's a
East.
mountain range east. Oh, the east. Okay, so there's a mountain range that set of mountain ranges run into Florida. But yeah, if you go deeper into Florida, the only mountains we have down here are trash heaps. So
Funny.
yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. Florida mountains, trash heaps. You see a park that's a huge hill. It used to be a waste dump.
All right, we got one more article. This one is from TechExplorer.com. Casanova, a scalable consensus protocol for blockchain.
This is kind of long and thick. You just want to paraphrase it?
I got the first paragraph.
Okay.
A team of researchers at PyroFX Corporation recently introduced Casanova, a leaderless, optimistic consensus algorithm suited for use in the blockchain. Rather than producing a chain, Casanova produces blocks in a directed acyclic graph (DAG), which is essentially a directed graph with no cycles. Casanova pipelines voting rounds and block production to improve scalability, and has unique line item veto for conflicting transactions such as double spends. What do you think about this, Lionel?
All right. So, like I said, we are seeing the evolution of blockchain. People are seeing how proof of work is energy drinker. They just proof of work consensus algorithm that Bitcoin and other minor cryptocurrencies use. They just use up energy like crazy, and developers and teams are seeing that and say, "Oh no," they're saying to themselves, "It got to be a better way." And one main hurdle to adoption for these cryptocurrencies are transaction speeds, with the Visas and the American Expresses and the Discovers of the world. They do anywhere between 70,000 and 100,000 transactions per second. Now, with this Casanova, which is an upgrade to the blockchain code, what they're looking to do is upgrade the transaction speeds, have a different way of confirming blocks on a blockchain, and confirming blocks just basically saying, hey, all the transactions that's on this page is confirmed. We confirmed it. You can add it to the blockchain. And also, they are that's basically what they're doing. They're finding other ways of reinventing the blockchain. And what's what I used earlier? They are upgrading and evolving the blockchain. So that's why I say, as black men, just have a basic understanding of what the blockchain is. So that'll be your base. And when these other upgrades come out, you can say, hey, okay, this is what they changed. Me, that's why I see this as.
Yo, Grizzly?
It's definitely evolution. I'm reading deeper into the article, and you're seeing that a lot with cryptocurrencies as a whole, where they're just what at one point will change in within minutes, which is just how technology works. Period. So really, blockchain is a great representation of technology and the evolution of technology and human understanding. But more aligned with this, I'm looking at it instead of having people that or having nodes that will reach consensus. They have things that reach, I guess, validation. And kind of the big thing with consensus is that everybody has to agree that, hey, I have this, I have this, I have this. It's really called confirmations, mostly on today's blockchains. This just validates it and then goes on and keeps on going. Um, I guess it's sufficient because maybe the validation algorithm is a little bit faster. And with faster transacting validation algorithms, meaning that, you've already baked in the block itself and you're moving on to the next, which increases the speed of transaction times. which is great because then when you start doing things, when you start needing things in milliseconds or within a short time frame or short order, this is going to be great. And then you want to also you also want to make sure that what's written to the blockchain stays there and can be read by other people as quick as possible. So then stuff like this can help in terms of getting information faster and making sure that information is correct on first write, and there's no need for correction later on down the blockchain, if at all, which is kind of nice. And that's a little bit of understanding from the couple more paragraphs I read on this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
Christian Slater, you have anything?
Slade.
I think he's asleep. Preem,
Yo,
you have anything you want to add?
no questions. No questions on this one. Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. This is the last one. Forbes.com. The future is now. Blockchain and beyond. This is these stupid pop-ups. This is going to be a meaty one. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. As we approach the year's end, we have witnessed a plethora of developments in the world of blockchain. New regulations, blockchain hubs, and development, and above all else, a vision of the future. Although the prices of cryptocurrencies have recently dropped, the dreams and visions haven't, and neither have the hard-working teams behind them. Actually, more blockchain work and activity than ever before is currently underway. Crypto markets have been resilient to the growing worldwide concern of trade wars. Yet there is one thing that always has to happen in order for mass adoption to take place, and that is visuals. This is yeah, this is a lot longer than what I anticipated. I didn't get a chance to actually read this.
Yeah.
Lionel, did you read this?
Yeah, I read it. What he's basically he's a filmmaker and he's a blockchain enthusiast. So what you find is a lot of blockchain enthusiasts or Bitcoin maximalists or crypto maximalists, they either use the medium of prose, which is, medium.com and written word vlogs to get the word out, teach about cryptocurrency and blockchains and let people know, hey, this is what's coming. What he's doing is he's taking film. He's a film major. He uses documentaries to get the word out. And he's saying that he went to blockchain conferences and he was excited about what was shared there about the future of blockchain and the different ways it could be applied. So he's taking in all that information and then he's using film to express how blockchain and cryptocurrency can change the future. He name dropped Larry King. He name dropped Max Kaiser. These people. He he has a documentary or in a running series on RT. I did not know about. I have to look that up. RT is a YouTube channel. So this is basically what the article was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, Hollywood. Go right ahead, Young Grizzly.
no, I'll go after.
No, I was just going to say that Hollywood is naturally going to embrace it because they don't have any other choice at this point. There's too much bootlegging going on, and the ability to get your product, royalty based and collect your royalties immediately is very enticing to them. So
Yeah, very. And I sent that I believe I sent something like that out in emails. How they can put who made the film, who was who had something to do with the film on the blockchain, and every time the film is purchased or played, and this is applied to songs. An example I sent out, a transaction is made where whoever had something to do with the making of that piece of art, well, form whatever form it's in, it continuously get paid royalties.
Mhm.
So, like you said, it's too enticing for them not to say no, 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 we don't want to be dealing with the blockchain. We fine with our inefficiency right here.
I mean, yeah. I was going to say something along the same lines as what Mike said, in terms of just making sure that licensing is adhered to, and making sure that people can actually collect, kind of like what you were just saying, Linnell, on their work later on is a big deal. You know, you've already seen music makers put information on the blockchain in terms of, hey, I made this piece of music here, and you know, then if you start reading from that blockchain or start adding to that blockchain saying that you access that, then that could mean royalties later on, and then it could be better accounting, especially again if it's public. So if it's public or it's accessible by, even via an API of some sort, or by some type of gateway, then that way it's better accounting to make sure that people get paid every bit of money that they're supposed to on their actual intellectual property.
Right. And a little bit of FYI, Nas, he put his daughter's name on one of his albums, saying she helped produce it, so she receives a royalty. There you go. Imagine that on the blockchain. And your progeny can say, hey, my daddy made the song this, well, my granddad, or whatever the case may be, made the song this, and we are still getting paid.
It helps him pay off his child support a lot quicker that way.
Right.
Ooh, yes, yes. You may laugh, but yes.
Well, inheritance is a big
Yeah. Hmm.
um, inheritance is a big deal, and it has been a big deal, and it has been something that people have talked about in improving Bitcoin itself, um, improving, the fact that you really can't, it's hard to inherit. How can we unlock wallets that have been dormant for long periods of time, saying, hey, I found this key and it is rightfully mine, as opposed to I found it and because I own it, or because I found it, I own it.
Finders
Like,
keepers.
yeah, finders. But thank you.
Oh,
So
do you,
that's going to be a big deal.
so you think people are going to go on wallet hunting in the future? They go on public blockchains and say, hey, this wallet has been used in 8 years. It has 2.5 block, I'll say block coins in it, Bitcoins in it, and Bitcoin is worth X amount of money. Let's try to hack it.
I think you need to patent that game show right now. Do it. Call
Yeah,
it
I got it.
call it block hunting or something like that,
Yeah,
or wallet hunting.com. Buy
yeah,
that.
wallet.
Yeah, yeah. Can't be having people come in and say, "Hey, we don't create anything." Like, you just created that,
Yeah.
if it hasn't already been thought of. But yeah, it's a good idea, and like I think that's going to be a big deal. Like, the guy that lost, that hard drive in I think it was in England or something like that, or UK or same place. But he was in a move, and he discarded his hard drive, and then that was when Bitcoin wasn't worth anything, and then now he's like, oh, I want that back, and he started to rummage through this trash heap, or through the waste heap, and they kicked him out a couple times, really.
If he had his
But
private keys, he could just went on the blockchain and just got it. But
right,
yeah,
if he kept a copy of it, and that's kind of the big thing in terms of inheritance, and I forgot what they call it, where you lose something, you find it, excuse me, or you try to reclaim it, but like, I forgot, there's a term for it, but essentially losing something and then going back and finding a way to recover it, almost like, resetting your password for some account that you haven't used in months.
hmm,
As far as blockchain and crypto or Bitcoin being a storage of value. I mean, it's not finalized yet, but there's definitely, I mean, some things have been happening with Patreon and some really, really big YouTube creators, members of the intellectual dark web over like the last 2 weeks, to where they're
I'm in control here, but I gotta mute myself.
To where they're definitely beginning to embrace crypto as a form of payment or support from their subscribers, because they're having such difficulty with navigating the rules and the terms of service with Patreon. And I mean, some of these guys are bringing in anywhere between 40 and 80 grand a month. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I know that's not a drop in a bucket, but I suspect that if that becomes a wave, that will definitely help to bring a lot more people on board who otherwise wouldn't use crypto. They're intimidated by it, don't know how it works, but they would kind of be more willing to kind of learn about it, or to get a wallet, or to get wallets in order to do the whole crowdfunding thing.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what you saw. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, bro.
Well, that's kind of what you saw with who was it? WikiLeaks. When kind of like when Bitcoin started to get really big, you started to see, or it got big. One of the reasons was because WikiLeaks needed some way to fund their operations. So if you start seeing more and more people transact in this, and people that are more along the lines of freedom of speech, that, or even other people that get accounts frozen because of maybe government persecution of some sort. Now they're saying, all right, well, I'm going to move onto a monetary system or onto an economic system that isn't going to get frozen in one way or another. Or I can transact directly with the person, and I don't have to use your SEC weighted unit of currency, which is your dollar. I don't have to use anything that has all these other smart contracts, these old school smart contracts that are backed by guns. Those are the best ones so far. But I don't have to use these old school smart contracts to actually do anything or transact some type of unit of value or trade with you.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely looking like they're headed that way, and I mean, they've got some big names. I think Jordan Peterson. He's working with Peter Thiel. Of course, he was one of the founding members of the PayPal mafia, and PayPal has been acting kind of shady. So if anybody knows, or would know how to help, spin up, to use one of you guys' terms, either a new, alternative, or to kind of adapt this and to kind of make this mainstream. I think, those guys of the intellectual dark web aligning with somebody like Peter Thiel, who's a maverick, who's an outsider in Silicon Valley, marches to the beat of his own drummer. I think, it could be a big thing if it works out, and I'm pretty sure it is going to work out, because Patreon's really not playing fair ball with these guys, and they're just fed up with it.
Well, I mean, if you go back to again the EBT analogy, like if more and more people start accepting Bitcoins, and even if they don't, if or more and more businesses and vendors and your landlord per se start accepting Bitcoin, and there's not a lot, but even if just people start accepting Bitcoins, I forgot the name of the website where you can actually do local Bitcoin meetups and exchange them for gift cards. It's like Polynex or something like that. I forgot. No, not Poly. I forgot the name of it. But with that site, you can say, hey, listen, I want to meet at this place and exchange my Bitcoin for fiat, and do the vice versa. And that is very important, because now you can have these creators they can actually start transacting in the local fiat currency and back into the cryptocurrency at will. And once that something like that grows and you have these gateways, you might see more regulation and other problems, but at the same time, it's a good thing. Sorry.
Yeah, and I guess it would definitely help to stabilize the currency, to make it more liquid. And I was listening to Tim Pool, because he's been speaking up about this, with the horse Oregon thing, and he's on board with these guys who finally turn to PayPal. He's like, yeah, us accepting crypto or Bitcoin or whatever, it's not like we're going to sit on it and try to wait for it to rise. When we, what we do, the misnomer is like, what we do is when we accept it, we will go ahead and exchange it, for, whatever our fiat or our current currency is, because they're exchanges. So, if we get paid in that, we'll just go ahead, and exchange it, pay us the small little fee and get our, and get our fiat currency, So again, I mean, like you said, the more and more people that get on it, it'll help stabilize it and make the marketplace more liquid. It's a good thing, man. It's a good thing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be something like kind of like, you get something like, say, silver, and you want to barter it off, or some people will, they just work in bartering, and then somehow that translates at a later point in time, whether it be services and so on, that actually translates into USD. So, whether you get some type of goods or something like that, and then you sell that good, it could work like that, and that actually may work, or that'll be the precursor to doing other exchanges that allow you to get money faster.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Hey, what's going on, Scholar Chang?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Chilling, man. What's going on with your Bitcoin Cash?
Good question. I haven't monitored it for a while. I don't know. I guess I could go back to check my account again. I just know the last time I checked 2 weeks ago, it was dropping. The value was still dropping.
You think it's a good time to get out?
No, not really, because I've already lost some. I might as well just let it sit. Who knows? Hope you will recover somehow.
Okay. You have anything you want to add to this hangout in terms of blockchain and cloud computing?
Yeah. So speaking of blockchain, so I've been attending different workshops. Sponsored by university. They have this interesting workshop called the blockchain in logistics. So apparently, right now, a lot of those logistics company are adopting blockchain technologies and integrating into their business model. Apparently, because it has the one of the distinct feature of blockchain is supposed to be the security aspect. Of course, a lot of times those the terminology they were throwing around is sometimes beyond my comprehension. But I just know that in the logistics part, it's becoming increasingly more important. I think there's one specific application was coordinate. One of them was specific coordinating the transport of goods by somehow integrating blockchain into fleet truck management, where they somehow it was proven to increase the speeds of the delivery. As far as the that got me wondering now, right? So with the advent of manless truck, the self-driving truck, I wonder how would that work out, in terms of blockchain. I mean, blockchain, if blockchain is already proven to enhance the speed as well as the on-time performance of the delivery of the goods, with the self-driving truck, maybe perhaps that will make it even more so. Yeah, that's all I want to add.
I know you had something you wanted to respond to what Scholar Chang had to say? I think Lionel's taking a nap.
Just to what I said earlier about the website where you can actually exchange Bitcoin for cards or locally, Paxful, Paxful. I haven't used it or haven't heard about it in a while, but you can do cash and gift cards and all types of other stuff through it. And I'm sure they've changed since the last time I looked at them.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's going to be a whole lot of ideas that's going to come out of blockchain, and I think we can actually drive a lot of those ideas ourselves. I mean, we've talked about this before about vacant parcels in predominantly black neighborhoods just being left vacant and acquiring back, accruing taxes, land taxes on the property. And what that does is it doesn't allow anybody to actually buy it immediately. But if the state or the local government were to actually put it onto the blockchain, then that would allow people within the neighborhood to actually own a piece of it through tokenization. Blockchain. What were you saying, Young Grizzly?
Well, tokenization is going to be something that's definitely going to be big, and you're already seeing it because you guys may have covered this, and I know I heard this a while back, but there were, I think there was I think it was Asia based or China based or something like that, somewhere based in Asia. But essentially what they were doing is they were actually tokenizing real estate, and it was just like entire plots of land in the U.S. were being tokenized on another country's blockchain or blockchain based in another country, I should say. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say colonialism through technology.
Right. I mean, and the thing is, the ownership is already done. Or you're even seeing it with like Veritasium, which is Reggie Middleton. He was talking about that, or he talks about that on his platform, and pretty much the tokenization of any type of real estate, commodity, or any type of financial instrument. And with that, you can actually start selling pieces of it and even rent it out in a sense where you retain ownership, but then you lease that out, and then you can make your royalties off of that, or you can make your little bit of money off of that on top of whatever the person that has the lease or the lease owner has. So you're seeing things like that, which is it's a bit abstract and there's a lot of different layers, but that's going to be something that's going to become commonplace. Mm-hmm. Kind of like who used to do that a lot, or they talked about it in a rap video. I forgot that Save That Money. If you listen to his lyrics, he talks about how he takes a lease and then takes that lease and converts it into an Airbnb, which is funny until you find out people have been doing that stuff like real crazy. And right. It's pretty popular.
It's kind of how you kind of bubbleize the real estate market. That's kind of what's going on right now, particularly in LA. What's going on, gentlemen? How are you guys doing, man?
Chilling.
Not much. You know what, man? I don't know if Scholar Chang is still on here. But I wanted to follow up on what he was talking about, because truth be told, and this is I don't know if Lionel's there, but this is sort of where Lionel has some interest in the rideshare platform we're going to be rolling out for 2019, because there's also a blockchain application to it. Now, Mike, you're familiar with Arcade City. We've talked about this on previous Hangouts months back. Mm-hmm. Next month, they roll out the new wallet that'll incorporate all types of payment options. Now, they've tokenized the entire platform based on, ERC20, Ethereum? It's the ERC20 token. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they created their own token off of that called the Arcade token. And so with that, you have cryptocurrency, blockchain on a logistics and transportation platform. In addition to that, Lionel had sent an email out, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and it was some info from a class that he was taking, where there was an individual, I don't recall the name, but he was talking about fractionalizing autonomous vehicles, fractionalizing the ownership of autonomous vehicles. So much to what you were just talking about, Grizzly, you buy shares in a single vehicle or multiple vehicles, and they can be anywhere, right? It can be global. It can be global, and you can say I own, parts of a transportation company in Thailand, UK, Vegas, Frisco, and all that. And in all actuality, it's like you own pieces of vehicles that are doing work. And so, how the whole crypto blockchain transaction method works, with each transaction, you're seeing a fraction or a piece of it all. And so it's kind of a collective sort of ongoing passive revenue model that's all happening in real time as the blockchain updates.
To add to that, and thank you for the inspiration for this, Ulysses. But what if, for instance, say you only have $5 right now, so you buy into, like, say a self-driving car in Florida during peak time. That makes you a little bit of money, and then you take that money and then you buy shares into another self-driving car in France. So you sell all your shares, or sell your portion of your ownership in your car in Florida after peak hours, because now it's dormant. And then you go and buy it somewhere else in the world, because of course time moves, or the sun, what's it called? Your time zone moves and the peak hours move. So then you're starting to buy all this. So, like, as you're traveling around the world, that $5 turns from 5 to 5.25 to 5.50, so on and so forth. And then you just keep on selling portions of that until you start to get up to like $10. Now, it'll be microtransactions, but you could take that and you can invest more and more into it, and it'll be its own financial vehicle, pun intended. And and it can make it can make money for you while you sleep, and then you just keep on doing that. You can sell your share over here in France and sell it to a transportation company, or you can buy a portion of a transportation company in another area. So that's kind of cool, because something like that's going to happen. And and then there's the honesty of it all, because now it's like, hey, this vehicle's on the blockchain and I'm buying portion of it, and I'm actually contributing to the cost of running that vehicle, expenses, so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
And go from there.
Absolutely.
A rough idea, but I think that's what we're looking at. And then
that's the gist. That's it right there.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and then whatever else, I guess the imagination can kind of leapfrog from there. Right. Gosh, because we're not just talking about. Because look, you can do this with those scooters, the little bird scooters. Think about it. You can apply this to every vehicle platform, from scooters to drones.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just the stock market. You're buying shares, and so instead of share of an entire company, now you're getting even more granular with it, and you're just buying shares in one device. So it's like, you're playing the odds, but it's like, all right, cool. If this device can be used and picked up, then I might be able to make a good amount of money, a couple cents. You know what I mean? So,
but I was gonna say, right, I was gonna say, but those are, they're not even odds at that point, right? It's kind of like a slow drip, strategic, passive income portfolio that you're building.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as the business is being, conducted and transacted, you're seeing something.
Right. And I mean, and the only slow drip in it is because it's like, so you can buy almost like the index fund version of it, where somebody's echoing a little bit. Oh, okay. You can buy the index version of it, where it's you can buy the whole, like, say, a portion of 10 bikes, or you could just buy one bike, and then that's where the odds come in. That's the point I was that's the way I was looking at it too.
Well, and then you can kind of compound it with fleet share ownership. So
Yeah, so like even with the fact that you'll be out of a job because everything will be automated, then you can still, with a little bit of money that you have, maybe even your lunch money, like literally, we always talk about, investing with lunch money. We're not CFOs or CFAs or whatever, but
You're breaking up a lot, Yonkers.
or huh?
You're breaking up a lot. Go back 10 seconds.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit.
I apologize. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. So if we go back to, or if I go back, it would be, what did I say? You can actually take your literal lunch money and then invest it into something. And especially with everything being automated, you're going to have to find ways to make money so that you can just survive and your family can survive. And this might be one way of doing it, where you start to buy into small portions or a certain vehicle and go from there.
I mean, but isn't this kind of like, I mean, because we're at the precipice of all this stuff, right? So applications,
we're looking into the abyss.
Yeah, it's like this hasn't been figured out. For this I don't know, what would you say? We're at maybe like 5% of where this blockchain thing can ultimately go, like giving it the long-term view, right? So even with the stuff that we're talking about now, this is still kind of future forward, right? But even then, we're still only just tapping the surface of what can be done with blockchain. So I mean, I can kind of see if you've thrown a couple bucks here into a couple of vehicles over here, right? And then you've thrown a couple of bucks over here into this other blockchain scheme that gives you some passive money, and then this other blockchain type of fractionalized scheme that gives you a little bit of money. I mean, I can kind of start to see where collectively you could put a little money here, a little money here, a little money there, a little money there, and then it'll basically just make you money over the long term.
Well, and that's where the tokens come in, right? So you already have things that would monitor your vehicle and your vehicle's, I guess, lifespan. So things like car vertical. Now, I believe that we'll see if that one dies or not. I'm invested in that one, but if you're looking,
I'm familiar with. I've heard that. What is car vertical?
Car vertical. If I was to give it an analogy, or make a connection, it would be Carfax on the blockchain. So, so it's like a Carfax blockchain, but then of course it takes Carfax is mostly in the US or in whatever country that it operates in. But the thing about Carfax is the data is siloed with Carfax itself. This just distributes that data and then allows for multiple bodies, multiple reporting bodies in terms of accidents. I don't know what they call that level of or that industry, but this takes all those different silos and then and puts it on a blockchain so that for instance, if you watch like YouTube, there's like Hoovie's Garage and Tavarish. And those guys, you see Hoovie's Garage sold the Bentley to Tavarish. But before Hoovie's Garage got it, because he always buys these super, super cheap cars or buys these cars with problems and then fixes them. But before he got it, and he did some research, and it took him a while, that he found out the odometer was spun back while it was overseas in Eastern Europe, like Russia and other places. So then by the time it got to him, it was all types of problems. And then Tavarish ends up getting it now for 11 grand, right? So he got a Bentley Continental GT, or no, a Bentley GT.
I saw that video for 11 grand.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but if you watch the first video on it, he got it from Hoovie's Garage, and if you watch the Hoovie's Garage video, which I watched a while back, he got it for, I forgot how much, he lost money on it. But there were so many problems with it that he didn't know about. And it was one of those sight unseen auctions or something like that. So he got a cheap Bentley, I think it's a Bentley Continental GT, or I could be getting that messed up.
No, that's what it was. It was the coupe. Yeah, the two-door coupe.
Right, and that's not a Continental, right?
It's a Continental.
It is? Okay, thank you.
The GT is always a two-door.
Yep.
GT, okay. So
that thing races in that thing races in the Blancpain series, man, GT3 class. That thing's a beast. It's a race car. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
that
seen that.
one in particular was not a beast. That thing was a piece of trash.
Right, right. But I've seen the other ones though. Like they have the actual GT one that they it's insane. But and then I saw the one for Hoobie's Garage. But back to what we were talking about, that's what Car Vertical would be great for, is because that all that information would be on the blockchain before he even bought it, so nobody could lie about it. You know, and it would have been an international Carfax. So then think about this: if your car that you bought, you bought into a ride share or fleet share program, and you bought a portion of a vehicle or an index of vehicles or a group of vehicles or aggregation of vehicles, and you said, all right, cool, I buy into this vehicle, but you never know what's going to happen to that vehicle. It could break down inside the road. It can have issues with it. It can have all types of complaints and problems because of users. And they say, hey, listen, this vehicle smells, so on and so forth. That lowers the value of that vehicle or lowers the value of that vehicle in the fleet. Then the vehicle has to be taken in for repairs. It's wasting fuel and all types of other stuff. So then that lowers the value of your share. So then when you take it and sell it, it's worth less. So like all these things can actually happen.
Right. I would like to. What I would like to do with that, though, to kind of that sort of investment in those vehicles is to kind of account for, like, let's just so for example, with the contract work I do with Bird, right? I can tell you, all that stuff is insured, right? So they take a lot of losses, dude, when it comes to theft and people just taking scooters and throwing them in the ocean and shit. So it's insured, right? So the investments is insured, and you'll wake up Monday morning, there's going to be a truck pulling up with 1,000 new scooters in it, right? And so and again, we're kind of modeling and presupposing, right? So I would like to kind of include maybe some stop loss measures in that. So part of your investment, right, covers your investment. And it kind of like in the same scenario, and it is your investment, but what you also bought into was the insurance and any sort of measures to replace it or repair it or anything like that. And that was also a part of the initial investment when you bought into it, because also it's not just you who's buying into it, it's others too, right? So collectively we're all pulling together, then collectively the fleets are covered, theoretically speaking.
Well, and that's true. So even for like me, I have many different loans out there, and some of those loans are insured. So in the event that I lose work or something like that, I can insure one of my loans through my credit union. And then all that means is that they'll pay for my loan for a couple months, and then or defer payment for my loan for a couple months because of the insurance I pay. Now, what happens? Yeah, and what happens is on that, like I have to pay, I think like $20-$30 or something like that per month on that. So that's another fee on top of that. But what if I can just save that $20-$30, which gets tacked on to the top of that loan, and then that increases my risk. So you're going to see things like what you're saying, and then you're going to see things like what I'm saying, where it's like, all right, I don't want my investment insured.
True. Yep. I can see
more money.
Scenarios. Yep.
Yeah,
I can see both scenarios.
And it's more money in your pocket. So there's a lot of ways that things that are already done can be applied to this whole model, or make it happen.
Right. Too bad Scholar Chang, he left the panel, because I wanted to kind of pick his brain on that seminar he went to about blockchain and logistics. I'm sorry, Preem, go ahead, bro.
Is anybody here familiar with the mini IPOs that came out of the 2012 Jobs Act?
You said the mini IPOs?
Yeah, program or a process for kind of something similar to where you can actually sell miniaturized shares in a company through a vehicle known as a mini IPO. So it's not as granular as tokenization, but It's kind of it's kind of similar to where it allows, again, a company to kind of sell shares to non-accredited investors, but like little bits and pieces of it. That's all. I was just curious. I mean, it does have some similarities to tokenization, but again, it doesn't seem to be as granular and as easy, to get in and get out.
Yeah,
Well,
it
that's
sounds
kind
like.
of the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it sounds like something that the Brain Trust should probably get into. A mini IPO for the Brain Trust. When we decide to go for profit.
Yeah,
I agree.
We'll call ourselves. We'll call our coins black brain cells. Dead ass. Totally serious about that.
No, I'm laughing, but no, I know you're serious, dude.
But the biggest thing with blockchain and the whole, and I put this in air quotes, disturbance or disruption that it causes is that now the financial or the rich 1% or the wealthy 1%, now everyone has the ability to do all of this. So for instance, if I wanted to involve myself in and I said this a while back, and I said this on I think I said this in a Facebook group a long time ago. Some of you guys are a part of it, but essentially, if you wanted to get into, say, an initial coin offering, there were some initial coin offerings that were out there that had self-executing contracts to where that would circumvent any type of government regulation, because all you would do is send it. Usually with ICOs, they would require you to sign up and do all this stuff and put your funds in, but then that would require you to sign up and put your information in, and that satisfies AML or anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist or anti-terrorist funding. I think AML and ATF or something like that.
Anti-money laundering.
Yeah. Anti-money laundering. Okay. Sorry, I had something on my phone. So it would require you that would satisfy that. But with these self-executing contracts, you would send something to a self-executing contract address. It would execute that contract and then send you back your funds. And then if it can't properly execute that, you would lose, in terms of Ethereum, you would lose, I think the gas or the GWEI, GWEI, and you would lose that. And that would just be your transaction cost. And I think you actually would get some of that back. But then you could resend it to that contract, fulfilling the proper parameters in terms of the amount of GWEI or gas so it can transact on the network, and the amount for that self-executing contract. So for instance, your self-executing contract goes for $10. You send a proper gas of, say, 10 cents so it can traverse the network, and you pay all the miners. And then after that, it comes back with the whatever you purchased. So that was something that was available on some of these ICOs, and that is a way that you can get around issues with whatever country you were a part of. Not saying that I did that. Okay, I totally did.
No. Of course not.
I don't give a fuck. I totally did. But that's possible, and that's the big thing about technology and blockchain. It's allowing you to get past a lot of this red tape that's keeping you from making some money. Now, that red tape is there for a reason, but at the same time, what if I just want to take the risk? I don't care. The loss is minimal, maybe $10.
Yeah, but the red tape is there, but not necessarily for like what we're talking about. I mean, because that red tape wasn't designed for the crypto sphere, if you will, right? So as the blockchain and cryptocurrencies as it is structured, that red tape was for fiat based currency transactions and the pre-existing financial system as it stands. With cryptocurrencies, like you said, because of the technology, because of the way blockchain works, because of the distributed ledger and the decentralization, there really is no need for red tape like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I even watched something the other day on the Military Arms Channel, or MAC, and they were just talking about NFA tax stamps and how it was unconstitutional, and how it infringed on the Second Amendment of the right to bear arms. So it's like, you have a lot of these things, but if they would see the guns that were created today, they would say they would increase the breadth of the width of the NFA regulation, and you would have to have a tax stamp on every freaking gun that you have.
A VIN number.
Yeah, or even more.
Okay.
But like the tax stamp is the biggest thing because you're paying $200 for a silencer or a short barrel rifle or converting certain firearms. So that's kind of like a big thing. Like, but the technology has totally gone around it and circumvented a lot of that.
Now, did the technology go around it or circumvent it, or did the technology just kind of leapfrog the paradigm? I always kind of, because see, I think that's what, well, I mean, it's okay, that's kind of a potato scenario, right? Either you're going to view cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and all that as some sort of workaround, right, to the modern day current global systems that we use, or you're going to be the potato person who says, no, this is just a vast improvement over it. This is one that'll eliminate a lot of the red tape, eliminate a lot of the bullshit, and also enable you to do things that you just simply couldn't do with the old paradigm. I mean, I think it's kind of a matter of perspective. Maybe you guys want to give your thoughts on that.
I think it's both personally, and then also you have to factor in the people wanted it. So you can make as many laws and regulations as you want, but then as long as the people want it, then there's always going to be some way they find around it. Like, instead of bump stocks, they have different types of trigger systems, and some of these trigger systems have been outlawed or regulated. So now they still have these trigger systems, but with the way these trigger systems are designed is different. So they're still legal, or they always make new trigger systems that do the same thing as the previous trigger system, whether it be your auto, your semi-auto or auto, or full auto, I should say. But now, instead of doing full auto where you just press and hold on a trigger and it just pushes out a whole bunch of successive rounds, now it does 2 rounds very fast and then resets and does another 2 rounds. So what's the difference? Because it feels like semi-auto to me. So, but again, it's legal now.
Okay. So yeah, I follow.
But what you do is you invent new ways, in a sense, to, it's like, I'm going to work within your laws that are restrictive or that are infringing on my rights, and it's going to be legal. And then you're just going to make a new law that says it's illegal again. And no problem. I'll just create another thing around it. But that's just human nature. Right. That's how we always do it.
Yep. No, I follow.
I know, you did?
I wish he was, man, because I would like for him to kind of talk a little bit more about what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, about the fractionalization of assets in the field, because he's the one that actually talked. Wait.
Yeah, I think he's sleeping.
Is that Lionel?
No, can you hear me? Am I coming in?
No, I need you to log off.
Yeah, there you
go. Log.
I hear him now.
Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you there? Yeah, you good.
Okay, I feel like it's a lag. Okay. You said fractionalization email.
Remember what's that article you sent maybe like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And you and I, we talked on the phone.
Yeah, fractionalization of the blockchain in terms of autonomous vehicles.
Can you? I couldn't relay it really like how you would relate it to me. Can you kind of speak on, because I was in like some course material that you were doing, right?
Yeah, they were saying that that's a use case for blockchain with terms of using autonomous vehicles, where you would buy a fraction of a vehicle, and you were the ideal situation is where the vehicle you buy that's autonomous, when it drops you off at work, it would then turn around and go make money for you to recoup some of the price that you have to pay for the vehicle, meaning drop people, pick people up, drop people off. Then you'll take that one step further. Hello?
No, go ahead.
Oh, then you'll take that one step further and buy fractions of different cars or fractions of cars in the 100 major cities in the world where if there's inclement weather where you're at, you're still making there's sunny weather somewhere else and you're still making money. Because even though you're not making money in the city you're in, somewhere else you're making money. There's a rush hour somewhere else.
Right. And it's like pretty much I was parroting what he was saying because I think I was looking at that chain, or maybe I've answered something in it, or was reading it, but he said I said the same thing he was saying, and then you can start doing other things with that, and then of course the risk involved with it as well, which is the cool part.
Right. But yeah, that's what autonomous vehicles combining the two technologies.
And it's the same thing. I guess a good representation of that model is, but it's siloed, is AWS and how sells shares of compute cycles.
Wait. It sells what?
That's Lambda.
Yeah,
Wow.
it sells like timeshares of compute cycles, and you're paying for, if you want, you could pay for more slots in that timeshare of that compute cycle. And it said that's Lambda.
Okay,
can you go a little bit deeper into that, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
I've never
Well,
used the service. Heard it.
Well, we kind of covered this earlier in the hangout. It's serverless computing, so you're only paying for computational cycles as you inject code into the instance that you're trying to build up. So that's why they call it serverless computing. But you're just paying for the computational time. All the infrastructure and everything else has already been done for you. But I think for a lot of those lost cycles, what AWS is trying to do is profit off of those cycles, like you were just mentioning. And I don't know how profitable it is, but for them to do that. But I guess there's a lot of lost cycles. I know one company I was at, they ran up their bill to $1 million and they didn't even know it.
Damn.
And you can't walk it back. So like, if you owe $1 million, you just owe it. There's no real way to get out of that debt. Like you actually accrue that sort of debt. So.
Right, and that's kind of
is that through like energy consumption mainly?
No, this is through computation. Workloads.
Energy is a part of it at the lower levels. But
yeah, at the lower level, but you're not paying for
yeah,
energy.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, is that right? Because that's what I was like. I'm like, okay, so is that ultimately mean that it's the energy behind those computational cycles, or is it something fuzzier?
It's a portion of the cost because data center networking, paying for the interconnects for those 10 gig, 100 gig links, terabit links, and all that other stuff. So you're paying for all. It's a part of the cost. So 20 cents for computational cycle, if that, right? A part of that 20 cents is is all, or that's associated with that 20 cents.
Like there's a portion of that accounts for the energy consumption. Maybe like 6 cents and that 20 cents or something.
Yeah, it's a fare. It's kind of like a fare on a taxi cab.
Okay. It's prorated. Yeah, it's prorated.
Right. So and that's kind of the big thing. You can take that and you can even offer those services as well and offer your own compute power. You just have to have the proper APIs that allow you to do that. And that's kind of where that's where you're going to start to see the energy market go to. That's been said on other hangouts before, where your energy providers today will be your energy brokers of tomorrow. And they're going to resell your solar energy. because you're already supplying more energy to the grid itself.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people with solar panels are already doing. They're getting those, instead of getting a bill, they're getting what's it called, a payment on an invoice, or they're getting payments instead.
I was going to say an energy credit, right?
Right.
Right. So yeah, and that's what you're gonna see. So once you start doing that, then you really will start to have a world computer, and that's another thing where blockchain, Ethereum, per se, or more specifically, is a big deal, and how it is a world computer. Kind of like how they used to have that back in the day. They had that screensaver that did computations for, oh man, was it NASA or some other for some type of major computer, some supercomputer?
So wait, you mean like when the screensaver? Because
You're breaking up,
like
brother.
me.
You're breaking up a lot.
Oh, okay. Go back to when screensaver.
So kind of like when the screensaver, the on the screen, what's going on is actually doing work for some other.
Yeah,
computer.
that was years ago. Like they did that, no, decades ago. I think now. I haven't been alive that long, but when I think maybe over more than probably 15 or more years ago, you would install this screensaver software, and what it would do is, while it's doing the screensaver, it's actually using up your idle processing time on your computer. So when the screensaver runs, it would kick off the process that would download, say, computation or a formula, and then it would run that formula, crunch the numbers, and then spit it back out to the mainframe, in a sense, quote unquote mainframe, or supercomputer.
Wouldn't that have kind of been like the test trials for something like a cryptocurrency?
It could be the basis of it.
I would have thought that.
You can mute yourself while you're listening.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his mic, but I would have thought that what's the SETI? I would have thought that SETI would have been similar to cracking numbers for cryptos. I don't know if you remember SETI, Mike.
No, I definitely don't. Can you because Christian said it. Go ahead, explain.
Yeah, SETI is Ulysses. I don't know.
Hey, can you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with his mic.
Could be on speaker.
SETI was used for cracking numbers in order to, I guess, discover extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, I tried. Not so much of a screensaver, but there's an agent that runs on your machine, and you're cracking these numbers, and you're contributing. Okay. And it was like a leaderboard that you can go into on the website, and you can see how many numbers you're cracking per second, or per minute, or per cycle, and it would tally that up, and you would see people, just going to their local universities and just launching all of these computers inside the laboratory, just with all these agents on it, just cracking SETI numbers. So.
Right, that would make sense, because I vaguely remember that, and maybe I got it confused with something else, but that's what it would do with your idle compute time on your computer, on your personal computer, and then it would do all this information. It would be like a distributed supercomputer in that way, and that's kind of what you're seeing with cryptocurrencies. Figuring out the next block.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Christian.
I was about to say, I used to run that a long time ago. I was ranked like
the SETI program.
Yeah, I was ranked 250th in the United States.
Nice.
Yeah, I can never crack 500, but that's because I was running it by myself. I only had like a dual athlon, not a dual athlon MP system back then. So.
Yeah, like what did you have, a P3 or something? Like how long? What was the time frame of that actually? Because I forget.
It just depends on how big of a package they gave you. Like, I had a couple of dual Xeon systems that I could like crack them out in like 5 minutes. So they gave me huge packets. And when they gave me huge packets, it was like, yeah, this is going to take like 9 hours to crack.
And it's
depends
multi.
on the type of system you had. And two, you can't have it run like a screensaver when you're not using it, or you can just have it run all the time in the background. Just depends on like what your preferences and stuff were.
And it was multi-threaded too, so the more CPUs it saw, the more threads it saw, the more it utilizes them.
And the newer ones started using GPUs.
Well, yeah, so like a lot of this stuff has been around. If you've been in computers for a long time, especially if you've been in forums, a lot of this stuff has been around for so long. So people that were in these forums or around these times when they were doing all this, they easily gravitated towards cryptocurrencies because it was like the same thing. But now you're making money for it instead of just, being a part of some leaderboard or what have you.
Complex, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I think I might have blown like yet another set of headphones. So I think that's the problem that I'm having, dude. Literally, I go through these things like every 2 weeks.
You gotta buy some good ones, man. Like
Kobe.
I did.
That you did.
Wait, what did you say, Mike?
Kobe.
Did you say Kobe?
COBY.
Oh man, dude.
Oh goodness.
No, we'll run for 20 more minutes and then we'll wrap it up. But, yeah, definitely. There's so many opportunities to implement blockchain and actually utilize, take advantage of some of these areas in your own personal environment. Things such as meters for parking and things like that. There's a variety of areas. I think just look around your own neighborhood, you can see how to utilize blockchain.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing is getting on top of these new things, and then becoming quote unquote pioneers, just like Airbnb, just like Uber. People used to really live off of Uber. Now it's kind of like I forgot, dang. It's not even side hustle money nowadays. It used to be, you used to get a lot of money for it, but now with everything else and you're getting lower fees for it, or Uber's just becoming more expensive, now it's to the point where it's almost, I don't know, the value or the revenue made from it is a lot less.
Yeah, it's almost a net zero if you're making car payments. The whole key there is, one, own your car. Two, if you're in a market where gas prices aren't like they are here in California, you're golden. You're okay.
Good point.
But
Very
other
good
than
point.
that, yeah. But it's a matter of the two, like what you're gonna get in versus what you have to put out in terms of energy costs. Just to kind of touch on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you said it was like net zero. So I was like, man, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yes. the internet provider net zero. Yeah, right.
That's another. That's a nerdy pun right there. I like what you did there. I didn't even catch it. I don't even know if you knew what you were saying. That's good. The nerd is strong within this one.
He knew. I'd say this too, though. We are going to do a rideshare, an open platform rideshare presentation next Saturday. I talked with Lionel earlier today, so we're going to schedule that for next Saturday to do that discussion. In that discussion, we'll go into great detail about like platforms like Arcade City, where it's a platform where you can leverage it to do exactly what we've just been talking about, and that's what our intention is. So we'll go in a little more detail into that like next week, but this was a good sort of like introduction into all of this type of stuff, because this is the future of logistics and transportation.
I'm kind of upset that I didn't include the HTC blockchain phone on this hangout.
Oh, yeah.
It was very much appropriate for this hangout. I know didn't remind me of it though.
My bad, man.
Darn you, Lionel.
I know.
1 minute. Can you just do it now? Fuck
Yeah,
it,
we
do
still
it
got
live.
15 minutes. We got 15 minutes.
Yeah. Let's turn this into a BGS 20 minutes. 2 hours later. Let's go. Do it. Do it. I dare you to.
Yeah, let me just bring it up.
Damn right. There we go. Let's go, baby. All nighter.
8 hours.
8 hours later.
Somebody gotta get drunk then.
Someone's gotta get.
Well, you guys know how I do, man. I got a brew over here. Got a little blunt twisted. You know, y'all already know.
That ain't enough.
I needed a blunt last night dealing with freaking stylists at the damn salon. Fucking immature bullshit.
Oh, dude, how's that going, man?
All right. Pretty much
Good.
breaking even. It's paying for itself. There's
That's
little,
good.
if anything, we're putting money into is just making improvements. But not bad. We're filling up a little bit. We lost a couple people, and then some people. We've added people too. So, not totally bad. I really can't complain. I do want it to be better, but that's just how I am. I want something to be better.
Man. It'll get there. It'll get there, man. It'll get there.
True. True.
Are you queued up there, Mike?
I'm switching laptops. So give me a second.
Oh, okay. So, well, while he's doing that, Grizz, what did you think about a lot of the activity yesterday, man? So you had like traditional stocks and all that just take a huge shit, right? And the crypto sector, in response, jumps up. Like, what was your take on that?
I didn't watch it say yesterday, but I've been hearing it through other videos. I know Dollar Will was making mention of, say, 800-point days where stocks would drop. There's a customer that I see quite often. I'll probably be seeing him this week. He used to be a former CBOE member and doing trading in Chicago, and he goes back and forth between Chicago and Florida between his homes. And I wanted to pick his brain about it, but anyways, my point on it was, my thought on it was, yes, finally. People are talking all this shit about cryptocurrencies and how it's a bubble and how it's this, so on and so forth. Bitch, you're about to see a real bubble burst. Let the carnage begin.
That's why I wanted to ask you, dude. I was like, let me ask Grizz, man. What'd you think about this shit?
Yeah, no.
Because, we offline last night, man. I don't know, we were chopping it up for a good amount of time last night. And, that was kind of like the impetus for him going live today, but he just dropped some more bombs today. And, I don't know, man. Just the talk around the crypto. Yeah, the talk around the crypto sphere is like, yo, y'all thought this was like a trend, or you thought this was like just a joke?
Yeah, well, I've been prepping for a couple of weeks now. I don't think I got a Christmas bonus, but I'm just going to take it out of my savings. But I've been prepping for about a $500 buy across a couple coins, Cardano, Ripple, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at some of these, and even Verge as a risky one. Seems like they're still developing, but it may be a shit coin, or eventually be an underfunded coin that has lost its funding because of the carnage. But you're going to see more people go to it, and then of course younger people are going to start gravitating to the cryptocurrencies because it's internet based, and then you're going to start seeing the people that they watch, this Patreon apocalypse, whatever you want to call that. You're going to start seeing more people move to other forms of getting money and transacting. And as older forms of currency, news outlets, so on and so forth, get left to the wayside and their user base dies, the boomers start to die off. And, people like Wall Street Journal and other publications, as they die off, what are people going towards? I've been watching a lot of Count Dankula on YouTube. Funny Irish dude, but he said one thing that was very true, that Wall Street Journal, instead of trying to embrace the newer school, they're still trying to hold on to the older money, or the older crowd that has money, but those people are dying. and they're leaving it to their Gen X and their boomers, or their Gen X and their millennial children and grandchildren. So it's like, hey, if y'all don't figure this out, y'all will get left behind. And I'm going to deal with, as an older millennial, I'm going to deal with the new school or the new kids on the block. And that's like kind of my thought. And that's kind of what I'm pushing towards. And that's what I'm betting on. And I'm also hedging by, investing in businesses and even other investment vehicles.
Oh, smart. That's smart.
You have to, man. But I think he has it queued up.
Yeah, I see it right here.
Yeah, this is just an older article back in October that we covered for CNBC.com. HTC launches its blockchain-focused phone, but you can only buy it in cryptocurrency. So HTC's Exodus 1 comes with a secluded area kept separate from the Android operating system. It runs on to keep customers' cryptocurrency safe. The blockchain-based phone is part of HTC's shifting strategy regarding smartphones, which will prioritize software intellectual property. It is available for pre-order at a price of 0.15 Bitcoins or 4.78 Ether tokens, which translates to about $960 and is expected to be shipped by December, which will be this month.
Yeah, those values have definitely changed.
Say that one more time.
Those values have definitely changed.
Yeah,
that was going to be my question. Like, okay, is that what they quoted as far as the sale price in terms of crypto? Is that still applicable given the obvious shift in?
They're gonna come down on the numbers of the Ethereum or Bitcoin to reflect that $1,000 fee price tag.
Okay, so the base price is going to be the base price. What they accept in crypto is kind of going to be where they're going to make their concessions.
Yeah, it's going to change.
Go on.
Okay. Basically, the Exodus 1 comes with secure enclave, a secluded area on the phone's chip kept separate from the Android operating system it runs on. That uses technology made by SoftBank's ARM Holdings to keep a customer's cryptocurrency safe. Think of it as a micro OS that runs in parallel with Android. Bill Chen, HTC's decentralized chief officer, told CNBC over the phone. It basically is a wallet, but the wallet, what it does is hold your private keys. Private keys are lines of code which are meant to be known only to the owner of the cryptocurrency to allow them to access their funds. Chen said that the benefit of keeping this area of the phone separate from Android was that Google's OS is fundamentally insecure with a centralized system, and therefore storing cryptocurrency using Android would make users' funds more vulnerable to a hack. He said the significance of integrating blockchain technology in the phone is that it bolsters the security and privacy of users' assets and will in the future help with protecting a customer's data and identity. Blockchain can be thought of as a tamper-proof digital ledger that records cryptocurrency transactions and other data across a distributed network with no central authority overseeing it. So this is actually an interesting design of a phone. I probably would have bought it if I owned a lot more crypto than I initially did early in the year, but at this point, I don't see it being a part of my my arsenal of toys for the moment.
I mean, if you had the money, I would. If I had them, if I just had the crypto to throw at it, that looks pretty slick, man. I think I'd go for it.
I'd get it as a developer and developer only because it'll be the first iteration of that. So if anything, it'll be a learning tool, and that'll be the investment, or that's how I would look at it, as an investment in terms of education. Because if you start making scripts and other things for it, or security software for it, or hacks for it, what have you, or even just do maybe even bug bounties so you can actually make money off of finding bugs in there if that is available or will be available for the platform. That'll be cool because then you can start to say, then you can be a pioneer of it, and then of course that turns into money later on. But again, it'll be an investment in itself.
What are you gonna say, Lionel?
Oh no, I'm listening.
Yeah, I would think that at some point you would do the same thing with like with vehicles as well, right? An autonomous vehicle that has some form of secluded area for a wallet. You know, you imagine you go through toll booths, you go. We just covered an article about a week or so ago with these new Porsche BMW charging stations that can charge your car in 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That stuff isn't going to be free forever. You know, those somebody's going to have to pay for that technology or pay for the utilization of the charging. So you imagine you pull up to a charging port and it automatically syncs itself. So,
well, think about that. I mean, what if you started to, you know, again, if they made it to where a home user can just run an extension cable out to the curb of their driveway or something like that, and then random cars would just pull up and start charging, you know, and you'd make money off of that. And then that could subsidize or pay for a portion of your electric bill, pay for whatever they're charging, and then make money on top of that.
legally, you're not supposed to sell. You're not supposed to resell energy from the grid.
Right. Well, solar panels. Like, yeah, and that could be the big thing, and then that'd be even cheaper.
Yeah,
Or
maybe not
windmills.
from the grid, not from the grid, but maybe from a power wall.
Mm-hmm. Or like, and then that power will be generated from your solar panel. Like, think about that. And I think that's something that's just going to happen. It's just going to be an app, kind of like, you know, how Xfinity has or any one of these apps have a map of all their hotspots or charging stations in this case. So then you can start selling these charging stations, and it's based off of solar panels and batteries, so on and so forth.
Whoa,
Windmill.
wait, Grizzly. Are you telling me that you're throwing out here a hypothetical business model that incorporates maybe Powerwall-based charging stations?
Bitch, I'm giving it away for free. Take it if you want
God, don't give it away.
Oh man.
Is there any way to edit this part of? Is there any way to edit this part of the hangout out?
This is how I edit it. I didn't say that.
Nah.
This is your imagination, everyone. If you're hearing this, that was just your imagination.
Right.
Hey.
Until we come out with a prototype.
Then we had the discussion for real.
Hey,
we got 30 seconds in before we close out.
Sorry.
The black man.
Go ahead, Lionel.
That man.
What did you say, Lionel? Sorry.
I said that the black man not gonna let you do that, man. He gonna put his foot on your neck.
But I mean, think about that. You know, like that's essentially what you can do. You just you say, for instance, you come up with the way in which to do it. I wish I had more time to do a lot of the things that I think of. And that's just partially my fault, but I mean, or it's totally my fault, I should say. But if you make, say, an app, or say you make, hey, listen, you should do this, this, and this, and then you make a point of aggregation for all of that information, like a website, and then that turns into an app, then, you know, you can actually really make this a quote unquote thing. You know, like people can make money off of these solar walls, windmills, so on and so forth. And if people say, "Hey, listen, you can't," like what Mike just said, I didn't know that you can't resell power from the grid. I just never looked at it, you know. And it's the same thing with Xfinity Internet and the consumer level. You can't resell that service. You have to have some type of higher priced business agreement with them, which is what you kind of do with the business internet. And even then, you can't even totally resell it. So, if anything, if you in this case, you're not coupled to that because the energy is widely available by doing power, what's it called, solar power, and then wind power for certain states, which would be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
you know, or just even geothermal power, just heat from the ground to boil water. And then that can move, say, a turbine, boil water, the steam energy moves a turbine, and then that turbine generates friction, which turns into electricity. And boom, right there, you're generating electricity for a Tesla Powerwall as your battery conversion point, and then that connects to a car.
That depends if you're in the area that has you know, the ability to create steam. I mean, or to create water, turn water into steam. In this regard, in some parts of Africa, they don't see water, right? Or they don't see rain. So in that regard, you would need to utilize something like urine.
Okay.
Wow.
You can, because urine is a lot more denser than pure water.
Right.
So therefore it right. So therefore it makes it easy. It makes it a lot more challenging. Not so much as challenging, but more credible for you know, turning it into steam and driving steam power.
So I should buy pisspower.com.
But I didn't want to piss you off.
Oh, okay. Can we cut the? Can we go ahead and just start?
I'd rather you not piss on my idea, sir.
All right.
The puns are too much right about now, man.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back on Monday with Space and Technology, episode 114. You all have a good weekend.
All right. Peace out, y'all.